Welcome to the 2026 MLB Draft live stream presented by Hampton Farms Peanuts. I'm Peter Apple. To my right, you got Arm Layton, and to my left, we got Tyler Jennings. And we're 15 minutes early. We're going to talk about the draft a little bit. Tyler actually just put out Mock Draft 4.0. So race over to justbaseball.com and see some of Tyler's final thoughts. But good thing is, we got you right here.
Yep.
So I think everybody's wondering who's going to go number one overall. You've been consistent throughout. Any changes?
As of right now, no. As of this morning, I believe it is Roch Cholowsky. And at this point, it's really come down to him and Emerson. And when you look at what the trade that we had last night with Jacob Gonzalez going to the Pirates for pick 34, the White Sox adding nearly $3 million to their bonus pool, it kind of just makes it easier for you to kind of look at Roch getting maybe 9.5, maybe a little higher, but then still having so much money to really work with pick 34, pick 41, pick 77. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Roch. Will I be wrong? We'll see. But, mocks are a crapshoot. But, I think at the end of the day, it will be Roch, and we'll see probably Grady Emerson at 2, Vahn Lackey at 3, and then Mayhem will be incoming immediately after that.
I love Mayhem. Aram, based on what he just said about potentially the White Sox using more of the money that they just got in the trade, do you think that's, again, to go get Roch Cholowsky, or do you think they're more thinking about later on in the draft? Because a good thing about Chris Getz and the White Sox, especially lately, is they've done really well in the later rounds, right? You're thinking of a fifth-round pick like Sam Antonacci, right? We can keep on going through a bunch of players that they've drafted late. Do you think that this money was brought in to allocate more to Roch or more to the rest of the draft, or maybe a little bit of both?
I was going to say, I think a little bit of both, but I think it helps to just also put them in a position to kind of do whatever they want. It's tough because I feel like no matter what, they could have kind of done that anyways. To me, it seems like it's more of there's some guys they really want to be able to buy down in the late first round, like the Comp A area, and maybe some of the other second, third round picks that they want to buy down, that maybe they felt like it might get a little bit tight money wise. If they have to meet a certain price with the 1-1 pick, I think it just gives them a little bit more flexibility to get the guys that they like. I think some high school guys I know Elijah was talking about from the area as well, that probably gives them a bit more leverage to be able to pull that off.
And for the total money allocated with overages, we're looking at potentially 21 million plus could be spent by the White Sox during this draft. I guess my question to you is, where do you think outside of the number one pick they're going to allocate that money most? The 34th pick, the 41st pick, are they moving it down? Like, where do you think that money will be focused on?
The thing with the White Sox the past couple of years, they'll definitely try and save some money around their first pick, and then they'll go big fish hunting it at their second pick. And this year kind of just feels the same way, but they're doing it with what feels like 3 different picks, 34, 41, and 77. And they've, Caleb Bonham, Jaden Fauske the past 2 years have been the guys that they get their second pick.
Yeah.
This year, I did just put out the mock and had Jack slide him at 34. He's got helium here in the last couple of days. And then you also look at Landon Tomey, who was on the White Sox area code team last year, and they like picking from that crop as well. Dominic Santorelli probably fits that mold as well. There's a lot of preps to kind of piece together with the White Sox there. And I just feel like it's going to be one of those 3 guys that are going to be in the play there. Whether or not it's Slide him or Tomey at 34, I'm not confident on which one it is just yet. 41, probably either one of those 2 that's not taking a 34, or it's Dom Santorelli. So I feel like those 3 guys are big targets for the White Sox right now, and they're going to get a pretty hefty paycheck from them, all things considered, for those 3 guys.
Well, I'm super, super excited, and hopefully everybody joining here is as well. The best way to support this draft stream, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe for future videos. And just a reminder that this stream is presented by Hampton Farms Peanuts, the best peanuts on planet Earth. I'm not kidding here, folks. I've gone through bags and bags and bags of the honey roasted peanuts, right? Because it's not just the in shell. You can get out of shell the XL peanuts. They are fantastic. And if you use code JUSTBASEBALL at checkout at hamptonfarms.com, you will get 20% off your first order. So he's clearly aligned on Roch Cholowsky. I remember in our video that you put out, you also think Roch Cholowsky. But of course, there's been a lot of noise. People change opinions a little bit. And I know you're a huge fan of Grady Emerson. So it's that push and pull where I say, Aram, who do you think goes number one overall? It's the White Sox opinion and your opinion. Tell me what makes Grady Emerson so special and a potential number one overall pick? Because the noise is right now that it's going to be Roch Cholowsky, but anything can change here, folks. This is now our 5th or 6th draft. We have seen JJ Weatherholt get all of this steam, and guess what? He got picked number 7. Travis Bazzana ended up being number 1 overall. Jackson Holliday, the year he got drafted, we took him at 11-1. He closed at 13-1 and still went number 1 overall. So numbers are going to change. It's a lot of groupthink right now.
Eli Willits came in 5 minutes before.
Exactly.
They didn't know they were doing that until 5 minutes before.
Exactly. So it is no way set in stone Roch Cholowsky. It just seems like the most likely option, but of course we will see. But I want to hear why you love Grady Emerson so much.
Well, it's funny because, there's always this push and pull. And Peyton, by the way, the power cord's about to fall out there. Yeah. Okay. But there's always a push and pull of the college, being able to perform at the collegiate level, I think at this point is really, this is the fun, balance of it all. Is you have a high level of confidence of these guys being able to move through the minors quickly because of the level of pitching that they're facing in college. But that also kind of seeps through into high school now, where I feel like 5-8 years ago, some of the top high school performers were still like, hey, I don't know how well he's going to be able to handle 95 plus consistently. And now these kids are seeing that pretty frequently too. And now you talked about it, like you saw Gio Rojas put Grady Emerson in a locker, but for the most part, like we've seen, I think Grady Emerson take on some pretty high level pitching, and you just see a pure hitter. And I think we see like a JoJo Parker, for example, like that guy gets into Pro Bowl and immediately just is holding his own and looks like a pure hitter. Eli Willits gets into Pro Bowl immediately, holding his own, looks like a pure hitter. It feels like the high school pure hitters are translating a lot more easily too, as well. And you can even go to McGonigal and Max Clark. And I know there's going to be examples the other way, but when you look at the guy where the hit tool leads the way, and I feel like it really does with Emerson, of late, I feel like those high school guys have a lot more confidence in. And I think when the biggest concern with Cholowsky is probably, and we're nitpicking because it's 1-1, is probably the hit. It's just going to be, if there's one thing that does Cholowsky in per se, it would probably be the hit tool doesn't translate to the way that we thought it would, right?
Yeah, and we talked about swing mechanics with some of these guys. Roch Cholowsky, I believe, has kind of I don't want to say the wonkiest mechanics, but they're definitely unorthodox because the way that the hands kind of stretch out,
Down and back.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And like when you kind of look at it, he still does hammer velocity well, but he kind of backed up this year in terms of contact quality against it. In just pure swing and miss, he kind of went from like 13% to 16%. And it's because of that move, because he's taking so long to get his hands stretched out and into a position to launch. But at the same time, he's so quick to the ball. He's so direct. And there's just a lot of things there that still work despite all the moving parts to his swing that have allowed him to be so good for the past 2 or 3 years. With Emerson, you don't have that. He's actually opened up the stance a little bit more too, which is fascinating because last year he was just dead even. He was kind of planting himself in the dirt and was just prioritizing hit tool. That's how he was at area coach when I saw him, and it just felt like it worked for him. But now he's kind of opened up the front leg. He's got more power to him. There's a chance for above average raw power there, I feel like, and there's really, really good bat speed for a kid that size. But I think at the end of the day, the hit tool is definitely going to take center stage on that one. And like we've talked as well, like high schoolers potentially not being in the draft anymore, as a proposal from the league. But then we talk about these kids in this manner, and it's just it kind of makes you wonder, like why do we even have this as a proposal? But
Well, when you have Eli Willits who reclassified and was like 17 years old, handling pro ball the way that he has been, and now still 18 years old doing what he's doing, like that's a guy that should not be touching campus. But that's kind of my point with Emerson. And I think when you have these guys that have such a strong foundation where the feel to hit is there, they're just the baseball instincts, they're just kind of that advanced, pure baseball player. Maybe the ceiling may not be as high as you think it is. And that's kind of the unknown. But I also feel like that's where the trainable aspect is interesting, because like with the bat speed programs that we have now, with the different ways that guys are able to kind of hone in and figure out how to just squeeze out an extra drop. Like I think about the Marlins, like Otto Lopez squeezed out a little bit more bat speed this year, and like look at what it's done for him. But relatively speaking, for an Emerson, he already looks like he could be at least you're hoping at least average game power with the hope for above average. If you squeeze out to above average with the the well-roundedness of his game, I look at Colt Emerson, ironically, no relation with these two guys, but I look at Colt Emerson as a really good template. Drafted as kind of a guy that you hoped would stick it short. We've talked about that, but may not. Hit over power. And the two variables were how much power would he ultimately hit? Well, we're still waiting on that, but I think we've seen through the minors a lot more power. And can he develop as a defender? I think he's proven that he can stick it short now, and that's been a really nice development. He's also proven that he can at least give you average game pop and potentially a little bit more than that. I think now we're looking at above average. But the calling card and the baseline for him was this kid can hit.
Yeah. And
then we're gonna kind of stack on top of that foundation. And I just feel like with the right organization, those guys can really be maximized. And I would be excited to work on that template of a player, I guess, is my thing. But at the same time, there's more that needs to be stacked. Whereas Cholowsky, it's like, how do we just get this hit tool to not degrade at AA, AAA in the big leagues? And, sometimes that can be a lot easier. Sometimes it can be a little bit harder. And that's it.
Moving over, I also want to talk about Vahn Lackey because I do still feel that this is a relative 3-horse race. The scouting director for the White Sox, Mike Shirley, came out and had a press conference. I think it was, 2 days ago now, where he basically said that the decision is between Roch Cholowsky, Grady Emerson, and Vahn Lackey. And as someone who seems to be the only one left on the planet who thinks that Vahn Lackey is going to go number 1, here is basically the crux of my argument. And we were looking at a ton of film last night. That was actually so much fun. Arm and Tyler, we got both laptops. We're looking at all 3 players. We're talking about positives. We're talking about negatives. And just the closer you look, especially at the 2 college guys, Roch and Vahn Lackey, there doesn't seem to be much of a gap in talent, right? But it's also, Roch Cholowsky, the shortstop, Vahn Lackey, the catcher. Would you rather get the shortstop? You look at the White Sox situation with Colson Montgomery and then Miguel Vargas at third and Caleb Bonham coming up, and you got Murakami. They got a lot of guys in the infield, but you could also make the same argument that, well, we're drafting the best player available. It doesn't really matter. So there's a lot of noise and a lot of happening, but I want to focus on the talent that is Vahn Lackey, because you were saying his freakish baseball ability might be even higher than a Roch, but Roch is almost a little bit more steady. Is that like a fair way to describe the difference between them?
It's interesting. I was like trying to almost put it into words for myself too. It just feels like Vahn is a guy that just doesn't quite have the reps that Roch has, and just goes out there and competes at a similar level, which is really impressive. Yeah. And I think it just even talks about it. I was listening to an interview with him on MLB Network where Vahn was just kind of like, I just kind of went to the cage and hit more and just started to kind of figure things out. And then at Georgia Tech, even like it kind of just clicked for him 2 years ago, and it had a great fall, and all of a sudden he just kind of figured out how to hit. But I feel like with Roch, he's kind of been like this golden boy for so long now, and like he's kind of just had this going for him a little bit differently. But that's why I almost look at Vahn and I'm like, you almost don't want to impede on that, but you also wonder, it's like with a little bit more refinement mechanically and a little bit more refinement just overall and more reps, like what is this guy ultimately going to look like? So I think that's where it's really fun with Lackey. But I think the ability to just kind of go out there and just play naturally, and just let what comes to him easily just come to him is why Vahn Lackey's so freaking good defensively. Like his dad just like threw him a catcher. I think it was literally because they needed a catcher. Like his team needed a catcher. He said, put the gear on, see what happens. And he ended up being great at it and falling in love with it. So it's like, I look at that and it's funny. You mentioned like the JT Realmuto comparison. JT Realmuto was like a high school quarterback drafted as a shortstop. Marlins said, why don't you get in the squad, even though you're a great athlete? And like he the guys before him did it, Jason Kendall and Russell Martin. But I feel like of the last 10, 15 years, JT Realmuto was a reminder of like, hey, we need athletic guys in the squad, and like kind of push that trend back that way a little bit more. And I feel like Lackey is just a really good example of that. Like just put an athlete at that position and watch what they can do.
Defensively, Tyler, again, you guys are the scouts. I'm just a college baseball watcher. And for me, watching catchers defend, there's a lot of blending, right? Like not a lot of guys jump off the screen. But just over the past couple of seasons, 2 guys defensively have jumped out to me. That was Caden Bodine and it was Vahn Lackey. And Vahn Lackey, I mean, you knew whenever you went to go play Georgia Tech, forget about stealing bases. He would shut down the run game. But almost what was more impressive to me was his blocking ability. He was so athletic back there, and his ability to form a great wall. Nothing got past him, and nobody went to second base. Would you say framing is the third part of that catching equation that he would need to unlock to be a true Gold Glove caliber defender behind the dish?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think framing is definitely going to be like the last part that most catchers will focus on, admittedly.
Because Bodine was already an elite framer.
Yeah.
That's why it's a little bit of difference of a defensive profile.
Yeah. And Bodine already had like good defensive skills before that.
For
like,
sure.
We were wondering, like, going into his draft here, like, okay, what can we kind of improve here defensively? Because there are times where he can be nitpicky and be like, oh, he doesn't block very well. He's also 5'10", 220 and is, pretty bulky. But then he just improved so much and turned into one of the best, if not the best framer in college baseball last year. Lackey isn't quite that good of a framer, but
I don't think so.
He's pretty
good though.
He's still pretty good.
Yeah.
And just the athleticism, and I've said this before, I think he's kind of like the Kyle Teal model, where Kyle Teal was super athletic as a backstop, where it was really weird because he wasn't as a prep guy. And then Vahn Lackey just comes out of nowhere. He was third base in high school.
Yeah.
Gets put behind behind home plate, kind of like let everything go as a freshman at Georgia Tech, and then all of a sudden he has a breakout 22, as a sophomore, and then 26. Here we are. He hit 500 at the end of the year, and was also making ridiculous plays. Laterally. There was a play he made at USA last year where the ball gets away from a left-handed pitcher. He just scoops it up one hand, turns around, fires, not even looking at the runner, gets him on a line, and it was just a perfect throw.
Yeah.
And that was one of the plays where I'm like, okay, that's a first rounder.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often from any sort of catcher. Most of them are kind of lumbering and they don't move very well, but Lackey just stood out for his mobility.
That's the thing that you've noticed. Like Lackey just does freaky things that you can't teach, that he just has an innate ability to do.
So who that reminds me of a little bit, a guy that I loved out of the draft, and I'm not just saying that because he's great now. Obviously, he didn't have quite the shine at the time because there was more variables. He was banged up, didn't quite hit as well. But Dylan Dingler, he was playing center field, right? And then they have him catching. And to me, it's like with Lackey, that's kind of what I see. I don't know what position he would be playing if he wasn't catching, but it would be a premium one, no? Like, or at least he'd be getting a good look at one.
He can play all nine.
Yeah. Exactly.
He has done it.
He's got the arm.
The thing with Dingler is like you saw this crazy athlete that then they're putting behind the dish, and it's just like, what can this continue to develop into? But also offensively, what can it continue to develop into? And it took time with Dingler. He was hurt a lot. There was I think some things he had to work through. But I mean, look at the final product now. And that's the thing with catchers is like there's sometimes even the guys you really like, it's a couple extra years sometimes it takes, and then when they click, it clicks. But sometimes it takes a little longer. And that's the fun thing with Lackey is like even if it doesn't happen right away, he's going to be a guy that I think you could be so patient with because of the story, because of the abilities, because of the upside. And I think the other examples of guys that like share some similarities to him being some of the best at the position in the game. So that's what I'm excited about. It's just the athletes behind the dish. And you don't often get an athlete like that behind the dish.
I think what we've all decided, whoever the White Sox pick between Roch Cholowsky, Grady Emerson, and Vahn Lackey.
And Eric Booth.
And potentially Eric Booth, they're getting a really, really good player. So beyond those three are the likely to go 1, 2, 3 in this draft in whatever order happens. On Mock Draft 4.0, you got to go in Roch, then Grady, then Lackey. But I'm curious about your guys. But they're both hitters who are likely going to be taken in the top 7, maybe top 10 picks, but definitely in that cluster of elite guys. Drew Burress, Eric Booth Jr. Tyler, we'll start with you with Eric Booth Jr. EJ.
Yeah.
Thoughts on him? Because the explosion and the speed just pops off the screen.
Yeah, it's super athletic, super toolsy, and admittedly, when you see his swing, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing. Like, it's pretty, I would say pretty wonky. There's kind of a flatter swing plane going through the zone and everything like that, but he hit line drives hard last year when I saw him at USA. The first at-bat I got of him, he was hitting, I think it was 108 with a wood bat.
Wow.
Which, again, most of these high school guys are going to hit 108 regularly, unless they are just as tooled up or have extreme strength, like say a Dominic Santarelli. But that was the biggest thing was like Booth has this swing where it's not necessarily the greatest to look at, but he's still hitting it 106, 107, 108. And I'm like, okay, so we got power. You can kind of tinker with the swing to make it work. His BP swing's better. And then also you factor in it's a double plus runner. He can play center field. He has field to hit. I just feel like you look at that and you go, hey, if we can get you into a swing development program and kind of, refine the rough edges a little bit, you can turn this into a premium player. And I genuinely feel like that's what you're going to get with Booth. So I've been very in on this guy for the better part of about 13 months now.
And you've been getting me into him, and you've been getting me into Drew Burress because, watching him at Georgia Tech, right? He's this 5'9" center fielder, and you see him come up. He might not look that intimidating to plate if you don't know much about Drew Burress. And then you see him swing the bat, and you see the type of launch that he gets and how much power comes out of that frame. And it was so funny. I was trying to do pro comps, not because they're serious, but because I just think they're fun to do. And I was talking with Tyler, and I was like, I can't really find a comp for this guy. How many 5'9" center fielders have 25 to 30 plus home run power? And I was thinking maybe a Dalton Varsho kind of player, but then I was also thinking exactly, and I was also thinking it's like 2025 Ramon Laureano, where he was hit 24 homers. Is that why do you like Drew Burress so much? Why did he pop initially to you? Because when I first asked you about the draft, you didn't even talk about Roch, Emerson, or Lackey. You were like, I love Drew Burress.
Yeah, I think that there's a really fun combination of, and there's a little bit more whiff in there than I think, you would expect. Because I think people look at that player and you say, oh, hit tool guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. But, you don't realize, this guy has juice.
But at the same time, it's going to be plus power, a little bit of whiff, but then he's patient in the box.
He is.
And it's a small strike zone. So he's going to leverage that.
ABS.
And so you got to go in, you got to locate against a guy who is designed, getting his A-plus swing off, designed for lifts.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, maybe if you execute top rail and, execute a slider away, maybe you'll get right. But he's so patient that I think if he's, and it's not like the whiff is so bad that it'll be 3 true outcome, but if he's trending towards that direction, I think he's going to be fine because you got to work within a small zone. He's so good within the zone. He's so good at not expanding outside of the zone. And the quality of contact is ridiculous. He was the one where I was like, I got to check everybody else's data because are the metal bats that hot this year? And they're not. It's just he hits the ball that hard. He hit a ball 117. And I was like, maybe that was a hot rating. Even if you took that one off, we had 113, 114, 115. I'm like, all right, well, you can eliminate the 117. We still got a bunch of 112 pluses. It's crazy, crazy bat speed. Again, it's designed for lift. That is going to create a little bit of whiff, but he hedges that with the patience. And then Tyler, you've seen him play defense more, but everything I've seen is he's got every opportunity to be able to stick up the middle and be solid.
Yeah, everything that I was told, or even before I had seen him, was he can play right field, has a really, really good arm. And then this year, I've seen some really, really good center field defenders. Ty Head, for example, in this year's class. Vance Honeycutt is the best center field defender I've ever seen in person. But I would say Burress is definitely within that mix of where, yes, the size is atypical for the position. He's not very big, but he's still above average plus runner.
Yeah,
the arm plays in the position, and he gets fantastic reads off the ball and can cover ground as well as anybody else. And I genuinely do feel like watching what he did in Charlotte at the ACC tournament a couple weeks ago, that was the definitive, okay, you're playing center field long term, and I'm sending that in on my report because there were back-to-back plays where he's making diving plays on the warning track, up against the wall too. There was one play that I was like, "There's no way he's got that," and he just comes away with it. So that was the big eye-opening thing for me was I now think he's a legitimate center field defender instead of this stereotypical right field guy who has a plus cannon.
Which the thing too is I always look at the range of outcomes. So that raises his ceiling, right? If he sticks in center, but the secondary outcome is okay, if he slows down a little bit and he moves over to a corner, he has the power to be able to accommodate and move to the corner. Yes, now he's not maybe projecting quite as high from a WAR output, but that's still a guy that could be an above average right fielder with
2025 Ramon
yeah,
Laureano.
like which again, really good. You're
great
taking
player.
that and running,
100%.
Even at the 5th pick in the draft, because if you're
100%.
getting that for 6+ years,
You get a 3-4 win player. It's 25 jacks. Like, sure, I would absolutely sign up for that.
So that's the part that's really fun with him is I think now he's raised his ceiling, and then even the plan B is a pretty exciting one too. And then like the plan C is like he'll be a short platoon destroyer.
Yeah.
So it's like, the range of outcomes is like I like the different places that he can land.
And the top pitcher in the class, Jackson Flora, right? I think a lot of people know him because they've likely seen him on Pitching Ninja throwing 100 miles an hour, right? It's really, really loud stuff. But I asked you this on our mock draft 3.0 kind of preview, and just based on me personally watching him and then reading kind of your write-ups, other people's write-ups as well, he's the top pitcher in the class. He's a very solid pitcher. He's likely going to be a starter in this league, maybe a 3, maybe even a 2. Who knows? Maybe a 1. Like, who are we to say he can't? Yeah. But he's just not in the same class as a Cade Anderson like last year, or even Chase Burns the year before, and then obviously not Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Is he just a small step below? Is he a medium step below? Like, past drafts, pitchers, where does he sit?
If you're comparing how big is the gap between them, I don't think it's as big as we kind of have made it out to be. I think he's got a legitimate chance to be a number 3 starter with an outside chance at a 2. But then you also look at the other guys that are mentioned in that. Paul Skeens has a case to have been the best arm on the planet the past 2 years.
Yep.
Outside
of Cam Schlittler.
Yes, that is true. Then you look at Chase Burns, who is, he's finally coming to his own. He's an all-star this year. You look at Cade Anderson; he's just dicing everybody up at Double A.
He gets a lot of hit.
Yeah,
that's how I hear Cade Anderson is. He's never a lot of hit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and you look at Flora, the fastball doesn't miss as many bats as you expect for a guy that's been hitting 96, 97 throughout the year, touches a hundo. The biggest thing is obviously like the field to spin the breaking balls has been impressive for me. But then add in this new kick change that he got. Last year he threw it like maybe 5 different times. Just this traditional circle change. Didn't give a whiff at all last year. Never threw it. This year, 45% whiff rate on a kick change, 39% in zone whiff rate. It's really been drastic, the improvement to get that arm side action into his arsenal. I think he still needs probably more of like a sinker fastball as well to kind of help. Because he's going to lose some shape to his fastball, admittedly, especially when you have cut ride like he does. So I think for him, he's going to expand the fastball into 2, keep the kick change, kind of improve it more. Like what he's shown already is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And there's another, echelon that he can unlock if he gets more feel for it, is able to command it more, which a kick change is already tough enough to command as it is anyways. So we'll see what happens. But I think he's got the highest upside with admittedly a really good floor in this class. And for pitching, like, it's not the greatest class, admittedly. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, it's the best class we've seen in 20 years.
Yeah.
No, prep pitching is probably the strong suit on that side of the demographic, but college pitching is not very good. But Flora has very clearly made himself the number 1 option on that side, and for good reason. Like, I think his ERA this year was like a 1.2, 1.4, something like that. Struck out 133 guys in like 100 innings. It was really, really impressive, even for a mid-major arm.
Based on what he just said, like Flora being the number 1 option, and then there's a lot of guys it feels like in the same tier. We were looking at a lot of pitchers' film last night, and you were like, I kind of like what this guy does, but I don't really like this about him. I kind of like what this guy does. So it all just feels like they're all in a similar grouping, and it's team dependent on what arm they like. Like, my prediction for this draft is that the pitching rankings that you might see online are going to be thrown all out of whack. Like, 100%. Someone is going to take, for example, the second pitcher off the board could be largely the 10th ranked pitcher on a lot of people's. So who is the pitcher that you would reach for that maybe a lot of other publications have him at like 5 or 6, but you would be comfortable taking him second off the board after Flora, just looking at pitchers, not like Flora, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think Rojas would still be the guy I go to, but then after that, like the second arm, I'd go with Cade Townsend. And I think Cade Townsend's going to be, because this is the year too where like there might be an arm taken that some people have on their big board, and it's not on that person's big board. It's just the pitching is kind of because it's so clumped outside of
and
Rojas
every team likes a different aspect of a pitcher too. So it's like one team could have this guy really high on their model, and the different team could have that same pitcher really, really low. Yeah. So that's why you try and put
even like with you Savage, I mean, there was a little bit of a medical aspect, but like I would have thought you Savage was going to go higher than that. You know? So you just never know. Even the clear cut to me was clear cut third arm there, and he ends up kind of slipping a little bit further. I think Townsend, just because you have the assortment of secondaries, I think all like the shapes are really impressive. The feel for it developed so much this year, and the fastball got hit harder than I expected, but the data's pretty good. He still sits in the mid-90s. I love the delivery. And I think that's a guy that, I mean, I know Tyler had talked about, like, there's some teams potentially that, could take him as early as, like, top 10. So I think that's the interesting thing is, like, with Townsend, I think there's a wide range, and I can understand why. But I still think Rojas has got to be the guy that, needs to be going. Well, also, the funny thing is, when did they make this pick?
It's 1:20, which means the draft has been live for 20 minutes. And for all those that said that there was a lock at number 1, clearly not, because they're using all of the time in order to make this pick. Tyler, I've noticed that you've been on your phone a lot. Any updates that we can know? But also, just for everybody watching too, Aram has the draft right next to us. In previous drafts, we've gotten the picks a little bit early, but we really want to react with the draft. So when the pick comes out, that's when we will break it down. But in the meantime, as we wait for the White Sox to make the first overall pick, is there anything else you're hearing? It might not be even number 1 related, just draft news.
Well, this probably isn't big news in terms of the draft, but Hunter Elliott is going back to Ole Miss next year for what feels like his 7th year in college.
He's
admittedly got a red shirt for next year, so he's going back. I think that's the good play. He will be like 25, but for an Ole Miss team that just made it to Omaha, having him in that rotation to kind of help out with the pitching losses they're going to have this year. You look at Taylor Rebay, obviously just talked about Townsend, but there's some other guys in that bullpen that are going to get taken quite highly. I feel like Hudson Calhoun, Landon Koenig. There's a few other guys that make sense there. So they're going to lose a lot of pitching this year. So Hunter Elliott going back is great, but at the same token, I was kind of hoping he get drafted because I've been watching him for about 6 years now.
Yeah, and we'll get ready for a 7.
Yes, but another thing too, just at this point, I've not heard anything else that says it's not Roch at 1. So I think barring something happening at the last second here, I feel pretty confident about Roch Cholowsky being the first overall pick.
And I think that's another interesting part about these conversations that are currently happening about the number 1 overall pick, because both Roch Cholowsky and Grady Emerson, they share the same agency. So you have a 3-horse race with Vahn Lackey, represented by a different agency, and these two guys, Colt Emerson and Roch Cholowsky, represented by the same. So if you're Chris Getz, the GM of the White Sox, you call that agency that represents Roch and Emerson, you're not really going to be able to haggle between the two. I assume both of them have their set slot value price that they want. And my guess is Chris Getz is now communicating back and forth in order to get the best deal. Because if they had already agreed on one player, wouldn't we have the pick by now at 1:22 p.m. Eastern?
I think we lied about the start of the draft.
Or did we just lie about the start of the draft? It might just be at 1:30. So everything I could have just said was just wrong. So
they just lied about the start of the draft.
Lied about the start of the draft.
I looked at every single source. They all said 1 o'clock. But hey,
all right. So
let's got to get us in the door.
Let's do mock draft 5.0 the second round. Well, let's mock. No, just kidding. So I guess working our way down through the draft, you said Townsend would be your guy. Who's like an arm maybe outside the 10 to 15 range? Like if you dove that far into the pitchers or even the hitters, like further down the draft, because you talked about Booth, you talked about Drew Burress, you talked about Townsend. Is there guys in the 20 to 30 range for teams drafting at the end of the first round where they think that they can get a really good pick?
I see Tyler putting out a banger tweet real quick here. I
I think Tyler's putting out something. Are you able to share it right now, or you want to tweet it out first?
I'll at least like to get it out first.
I love it. But at least we know what the first pick's going to be now. So do I need to go? You're talking pitcher or hitter?
Anybody, just someone later down the draft.
Bo Lawrence. Bo Lawrence is the guy. I think Bo Lawrence is going to end up going earlier, though. I really do. I think a lot of teams are going to like this guy. Or a lot of teams do like this guy. You have a 6'5" high school kid with a really polished swing that's become more athletic and more agile as he's kind of filled out more, which I think is exciting. And so has way more room to fill out. I think when usually those types of players are like kind of baby drafts, and you're dreaming on the power, but like you're kind of wondering if the field of hit's ever going to come. This is the field of hit has this huge frame and projection there, and I think the ability to stick on the left side of the infield. To me, it seems like he's like kind of taking these like guided swings, and because his levers are so long, he's still able to hit the ball, with authority, backside, all fields, whatever it may be. I'm like, when this guy starts to get a little bit stronger, starts to trust his body and kind of swing with more violence, I think you could have the power projection really, really jump there. And I think you could be a good defender at third. And in a draft where, I don't know, I think the high school bats, it kind of tapers off. And even the college bats, when you look at the tier 2 college bats, I think he's right in there with those guys. And when you look at the tier 2 college bats, there's some guys I like. We talked about Curiel, Stroh-Snyder, some of the others, Tyler Bell. I think you could make a case that, Lawrence has more upside than those guys because of where he's at, his age too, young on draft day, and a guy that you would love to just get your hands on and start, talk about building on a foundation. That's a fun foundation to build on.
So before I ask Tyler, who's his pick for kind of a late end of the first round steal, remember this draft stream is presented by Hampton Farms Peanuts as we await the White Sox #1 pick. Remember to use code JUSTBASEBALL on hamptonfarms.com. You're going to get 25% off the best peanuts in the world. You like it in the shell? They got it. You like it out of the shell? They got it. hamptonfarms.com using code JUSTBASEBALL for 25% off. Tyler, at the end of the first round, or maybe even in the second round, like he just mentioned Bo Lawrence. Who's your guy at that spot?
Definitely would have been Lawrence, admittedly, like looking at what we've seen for the past year from him. And speaking to scouts in the Carolinas as well, they believe that the athleticism's ticked up this year. The speed's gotten better. He can play shortstop. To pair that with already a pretty polished, offensive profile, I think that's a great one to go after. But kind of what I like a little bit is, Jackson, admittedly, like obviously going spike pointer this year.
Incredible season.
Yeah, like 25 season. I think that's
from a catcher.
In the SEC too. Like I understand, ridiculous. Yes, it's the SEC, but like to have those kind of in a conference as tough as that is pretty impressive.
No doubt.
But for him, it's like, I've seen some Georgia fans wondering, it's like, oh, why is he not like top 5 or top 10? Well, biggest problem is positional. Where is he going to be in a couple years? Yeah. Is he a backstop, or is he a guy who can play in a corner outfield spot and let the speed that he has? He's above average runner. Mm-hmm. He's a very, very mobile mover. So for him, I think he's probably better off in the corner outfield spot. But you look at what he was able to improve this year. Chase rate dropped, the swing and miss against breaking balls dropped. He was able to hammer mistakes more. The swing decisions got so much better. And that really just let him tap into everything. And as much as Foley Field, you can call it a bandbox. If it is, right field line down there is very, very short, but he's a right-handed hitter who likes to go for the trees on the left field line. There's a bigger field on that side, so it's legitimate power with him. There's some field to hit. I think it's like a 45 hit tool. You can probably put in 60 raw on him, and I think it justifies in a couple years. But I definitely do think he's a corner outfielder at the next level. We'll see what happens. Maybe he improves the defense back there, but I think his skill set is better in right field. So,
spoiler alert, if your team takes Bo Lawrence or your team takes Daniel Jackson, you're probably going to get an A from these guys when it comes to our draft grades. And again, we still await on the White Sox #1 overall pick. And if you're enjoying the draft stream so far, make sure to smash the like button and smash that subscribe button, because it is the best way to help out this stream for free. We're going to go for the entire first round. I'm really excited for this draft. Apparently, we got the timing wrong. It does start at 1:30, or at least they'll announce the pick at 1:30.
In the chat, did you see anywhere that it started at 1:30?
Yeah.
Did you see anywhere?
I heard everywhere that it started at 1, but
they started the broadcast at 1.
Started the broadcast.
Well, yes, I know that. And it was publicized that the draft itself starts at 1:30?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm terrible at this.
Well, it is what it is. So we're just going to keep talking no matter what because we're having a good time. Any other players that you guys want to hit on as we wait? Because Tyler, I mean, you made a big board, which people can go find on justbaseball.com. Your big board is not where you think the guys are going to be drafted. It's what you think of the players ranked on talent level. I guess my question to you would be, have you seen a guy that you're much higher on your board that you're seeing going later in drafts that you just don't understand why others are mocking? Or maybe even you understand because you've heard that this is like where this player is going to go, but you still feel like he should be drafted earlier.
Yeah, Cole Prospect was one of those for the longest time this cycle, and I kind of feel like he deserves to have his own spotlight here. For example, Cooper Pratt a couple years ago came from the same high school as him. Magnolia Heights in Mississippi. They have a couple of guys this year and next year too. I know Cooper Pratt's little brother's eligible next year. So Brewers fans, if you're listening, you're probably going to select him in about 12 months. But with Prospect, like seeing him last year at USA for the 18U trials, it was just hit. We were kind of wondering, it's like, where does he play defensively? Could he be a backstop? Could he be a third baseman? He's got the frame for it. And he was a guy I just loved throughout the cycle. And as we got kind of closer to the spring and as guys were, they started very early and they do a lot of big tournaments down there. He was getting a lot of heat on him early. I was like, well, okay, there goes my chance of being like the first on Cole Prospect because I really do think he's a back-end first rounder. This year he put together an insane year. We had 20 home runs in high school, also like 85 RBI. It was genuinely impressive for him. And for me, like I'm talking to a couple of guys, and we were talking about with Shooter Hunt the other day on the talk stream or on the podcast we had with him. He was mentioning how Prospect can probably catch now, which is big for him because being a catcher really elevates your profile, especially if you can hit like the way he does. So, I think Prospect is deservedly one of the more underrated guys. I think at the end of the day, we mocked him to 25 for the Brewers because my mindset is the Brewers have gone to the school before they've taken a guy out of here. And I remember when I was speaking to a couple of Brewers guys at 23, they thought Pratt was like one of the best players they've ever seen, which makes sense. You look at the contract he's now got with them, it makes total sense. Do they go back and try and double dip into that school this year? I wouldn't be shocked. They're familiar with that area. They know how to find talent. And with the Brewers, they just draft so well. They legitimately do. So I wonder, if they get Prospect at 25, I think that's a really, really solid bet.
And speaking of the Brewers and how well they draft, I remember another thing that we were talking about last night was just teams that you really admire when it comes to drafting. I know you mentioned a lot of teams. I don't want to steal your thunder by just listing off those teams. So besides the Brewers, who are teams that you look at as some of the best drafters?
Mariners. We talked about the Mariners. I think their approach of just drafting, obviously they draft the best players they can, but like people. And the success that they've had there, I think, is really impressive. I think when you look at their track record speaks for itself. But again, the way that these guys moved through the minor leagues, Grady Emerson debuts at 20 years old. I mean, like Grady Anderson, that was the top guy on their board, both because of his ability, but also because of their confidence that he would jump into pro ball and be exactly what you thought he would be.
Look at him now; he has a lot of hit.
And then the guys that they know so quickly too, like when to trade a guy. Like I think Durangelo Sancho could end up being a really good player for them. Or, for the Cardinals eventually. It could be a nice future for them. But they kind of knew that he wasn't different, and they packaged him in a deal. And that trade may not age great, but, I think they just know what they've got to in terms of the way that their scouting then works with player development, and then kind of just knowing what they have, the plan in place to be able to get the most out of these guys is really interesting too. But no, I think the Mariners are up there. The Brewers are probably just about the gold standard. And I know the Rays don't always hit on their drafts, but I always love to see their approach because they're creative. You can see that they're trying to maximize value, and they're swinging for the fences, and I think it's really fun. I also have a quick question for Tyler because I wanted to get some from the chat, and I thought this was a fun one because we're talking about this class and how it stacks up. Steele Hall, how would he stack up with this class? Where would you put him in this class?
That's a good question. I would put him in the tier 1A of at least a high school guy. So he'd be in with Emerson, with Lombard, with Booth, in my opinion. The funny part is too, he would have been eligible in this year's draft if he reclassed. So I think if he had another year down there, in he would try. I think he would have been at least top 10. In terms of like looking at some of the other guys in here, does he get above Drew Burress potentially? But I don't think he would clear like Vahn Lackey, Roch Cholowsky talent level.
He's kind of like a Booth adjacent. Like
Yeah.
a very similar raw swing mechanics, freak athlete, premium position defender that you think will end up really developing nicely.
Yeah. And like I would definitely for sure put him in the top 10 of this year's class if he was eligible this year. And seeing the rise that he had to the last year, this is a guy that like going into the fall, he reclassed. We're like, okay, the glove's good. Let's see what the bat can do. He came out and was like, oh, okay, he can hit it for power too. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, here we go.
And so it does feel like, not feel like it is, the Sox are on the clock.
That time.
And are you comfortable now sharing anything that you've heard about the number one pick?
Yeah, I know people have probably already seen it a million times now, but Roch Cholowsky is a selection for the White Sox at one. The rumor that I've seen initially was $9.5 or $9.75 million Philly is going to get. It might be more than $10 million now.
Wow.
Which would be the first time we have a $10 million signing bonus ever in the bonus pool era. But also at the same time, he shatters the record set by Holiday last year at 9.25. So wow. Again, that's just preliminary. I don't think it's going to be confirmed for a little bit with the signing bonus, but it looks like Roch Cholowsky will be getting paid him.
Thanks.
It's a lot of money. I get it. I mean, it's safe. It's the pick that you won't get fired for this pick. That's kind of the angle as well too. But I just feel like for the White Sox, their ability to go get, I guess, the guy that presumably everybody thought they were going to get for a while, but now and not have to haggle too much. Just like, hey, all right, what do you want? All right, we'll do it, and still have enough money and flexibility now to go in the comp rounds and in the second round, third round. It's really this doesn't compromise their flexibility at all after the trade they made last night.
I'm obviously really excited to watch the pick being made and have it likely be Roch Cholowsky, but I'm also equally as excited to see what the White Sox do with the money for the rest of the draft, right? You just said Roch Cholowsky could get $10 million. He could set a record for the value at the number one overall pick, but the White Sox would then still have upwards of $11 million for the rest of the draft. And again, in that press conference with Mike Shirley, where he was talking about Vahn Lackey and Roch and Emerson, and talking about how he liked all three, he also mentioned more than once a lot of the prep guys later in the draft. And so my guess is, again, going back to one of our original questions, it's clear that they made the trade in order to give Roch probably what he wants, but also for them to use it down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, say Roch does sign for 10 on the belt. They're like $10 million. They still, like you said, have over $11 million to work with the 5% overage and everything. Even if you take out the overage, they still have $10.5 million to work with for the rest of the draft. And after you get past 34, 41, 77, the bonus slots kind of just drop. That's the way the draft works, obviously. So as much as they potentially have $2 or $3 million to spend, as you get down to the final part of the top 10 rounds, that's still enough for you to get premium talent with what you have to make. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to watch with the White Sox there.
Do you think with the amount of money that they have to work with now too, there could be a guy that maybe, we were talking about a lot of guys are now kind of just withdrawing their name from the draft, but there's always going to be a few that it just doesn't happen in the day of the draft, their number isn't met, and you kind of say, don't pick me. But maybe in the later rounds, the White Sox should have enough flexibility to the guy that really maybe thinks he's going to campus, they can give him, $1 million, kind of when no one thought they would, and kind of sign the guy away from presumably returning to campus.
Yeah, as long as they don't withdraw their name formally from the process, they can still get drafted.
Could you see that being kind of something? Are there guys like that you could see kind of slipping out?
At the moment, no. Obviously, James Clark pulled out this morning, so he's not going to get drafted in any shape or form, really. But if there's a guy that could make sense, we were talking about like LSU guys. I was talking to Joe Doyle this morning about this. There's rumors of a big right-handed pitcher for the LSU recruiting class that could make the campus. And the theory for me is Justin Torchcorn or Cooper Sides, both Cali kids, both originally from NorCal, actually, because Cooper actually went down to Olu this year. I believe he went to like Red Bluff and then went to Olu and didn't pitch until NHSI this year. So it's either one of those two. I feel like, I said it in the Discord earlier today when somebody had asked me. I think it is for Corn that probably is going to be asking for a lot of money and isn't going to budge off that whatsoever. So we'll see what happens. But I think those are like two guys who you want to watch just in case, because I don't think their names have formally been pulled out of the draft as of now.
Mm-hmm. So it does seem like, and even Jeff Passan tweeted it out, that your report was correct. Everyone's now tweeting it out that Roch Cholowsky appears to be going number 1 overall. Thanks for my bet. I just lost, but it's so great for the White Sox. They got such a good player. And we've already talked about the bat at length, but I'm really curious about the defense because if I'm not mistaken, you put a 70 grade on the glove, and I think you're the highest in the industry on the glove itself. If you could just break down the glove for us and then fact check me on that. Are you the highest in the industry on that?
I wouldn't be shocked if I'm the highest. If not, I'm one of the high guys on the glove. For me, when I saw him at USA last year, and mind you, there were some really good shortstop defenders in that training group that we had. Tyler Bell looked pretty solid. This was before, obviously, having the shoulder injury this year. And I thought they were a dynamic kind of duo in the middle infield where, like, Roch's shortstop, Tyler Bell can play second. If you take Roch out, put Tyler Bell over at shortstop. And just let it eat, For me, the thing that really stood out was the fluidity of Roch's mechanics, the way that he's super ragey. Like he can make really, really tough plays look really, really easy. Has a really, really good arm. I walked away from that entire week saying, like, this is the best amateur shortstop defender I've seen ever. And it's so tough for me to kind of like get myself off of that.
Well, I think we're having some technical difficulties here as our camera looks like it is not working. Can anyone just let us know in the YouTube comments if you are still hearing us live? Seems like it might be okay. Podcast P. Yeah, the camera, is it a battery thing?
Yeah,
Sounds good. Yeah, so at least you can hear us. You just can't see our mediocre looking faces, right? Maybe that's even better for people listening.
I was about to say, I can break a camera or two, so this may be my face's fault.
Yeah, it could just be YouTube's like, we just got to get these guys off our servers. Like, they look so beat. Like, they're talking okay, right? They sound good. It's good analysis, but we're just sick and tired of looking at them. You cute Peter, chill, bro. Well, thank you, Du Bois. How's the audience doing? Yeah, so right now we're just having a couple of technical difficulties, but the good thing is I don't think the White Sox have officially made their pick complete yet, correct? It's just assumed that that's what they're going to do.
It does look like
it looks like he's going to get picked, but right, they haven't like officially, like Rob Manfred hasn't come out and announced the pick yet, correct? That's what we're waiting on?
He has actually, and it sounded like he mispronounced the name.
He mispronounced Roch Cholowsky?
Yes.
What did he say?
I obviously don't have the audio, so I want to hear it for myself, but it definitely does not sound like Cholowsky whatsoever.
Oh, no. Well, at least we can watch some Roch Cholowsky highlights. And we've already kind of talked about the bat. One thing when Arm and I were looking at film yesterday, I mean, obviously you were there too, is that, with a little bit of a hitch in his swing, sometimes balls can get up on him a little bit and he can be rushed, and that's when he can get into a little bit of trouble. But when he's in rhythm and he's getting the ball out front, the ball explodes off his bat. Like, I'm surprised that a ball hasn't physically blown up when he gets out in front. Like, Arm was showing me film of a particular line drive that he hit for a home run, that it was just on a line and just continued to sail. And I think the White Sox probably think we can bring this guy in and we can fix the hitch a little bit, just a little bit, right? Because you don't really want to mess with a guy as talented as Roch Cholowsky that much, but they're obviously going to go in, and you got to give a lot of credit also to the White Sox hitting development, right? With what they've been able to do over the past couple of seasons. Like, I'm really excited to see what the White Sox hitting development does with Roch Cholowsky.
Yeah, same here. And like, if you can fix that hitch without kind of making the swing plane a little longer, I think that's amazing, because that's the biggest thing I've seen with Roch. And some people have commented on videos this year, like, had the home run that he hit in the 9th inning against Mississippi State and Texas this year. He's so short and so compact to the baseball. And to have the bat speed that he has despite being so short is incredible. You don't usually see that with amateur guys, let alone just some of these pro prospects as well. So it's very interesting how his swing works, despite the fact that, again, it's a little wonky in terms of mechanics. But again, if he gets to a point where, you know, there's no glaring weaknesses with the hit tool, like he's able to catch up the field better than he did this past year at UCLA, then I think there's a lot to go on with that, and looking like a very, very good pick at this point. But again, we'll see what happens with development on that one.
Let's start talking about pick number 2. Because in your mock, you have Grady Emerson, the shortstop out of Texas, not the University of Texas. What is it, Fort Worth?
Fort Worth Christian. He is committed to the University of Texas.
There we go. So you get the best of both worlds. And the Rays, you know, their kind of MO, or at least publicly, is that, quote unquote, they don't care about catchers. They obviously care about catchers, but they certainly have a type. And it seems like Grady Emerson would be said type. So I think that's why you've also stuck with Emerson. Like, I've seen a lot of other mock drafts publicly. They've been flip-flopping between Lackey and Emerson. It's really just been between those two. But pretty consistently for you, you've just been Grady Emerson. And it's funny, you've been Roch Cholowsky. The same thing. And it seems like it might end up being exactly what you said, even for mock draft 1.0.
It feels good to actually have a mock draft work in your favor. Last year was not a good mock draft. We can just push away what happened last year. We only got and 1-1 was not the one we got right. Yeah. So to actually get that out the board this year is pretty cool. But with Grady Emerson, like, you know, I there were times this year where I was thinking, like, okay, maybe Vahn Lackey at 2 makes sense. Like, you're looking at it's talking to some scouting directors and even some scouts are like, this is the best catcher we've seen in a long time. And that definitely makes sense with how we talked about him earlier. But I think as we got closer, it was more confident in myself in how I can make things work. Was like, I think there's a legitimate chance that if it's, you know, not Roch at 1, it's Emerson at 2. And that just confounded everything earlier this week when talking to one of our guys, Peyton Sapp. Because he lives in Alabama. He's connected very well. First off, if you're not following Peyton, do so at Sour Peyton on Twitter. He did
podcast Pete at Big League Analysis. Follow both Peytons.
Yes, absolutely. But he did a fantastic job this year, and just being able to have him take care of stuff was awesome. But he definitely pinned me in on the idea of what the Rays were going to do, and it definitely felt like it was going to be Emerson at the end of the day.
And is it official? Have they come out and Grady Emerson is the number 2 overall pick going to the Tampa Bay Rays?
Can we dial up some Grady Emerson swing video again?
Oh yeah, because this I think a big reason why you were loving Grady, and you probably would have taken him number 1 overall if you were the GM of the White Sox. He's your favorite player in the draft, and I think it all stems around smoothness, fluidity, his mechanics that you love so much.
The swing is just so pure. And I think with him, and you see the way that he moves it at shortstop too. Like, I think that's something with the footwork getting a little bit better and just overall, like, he's going to get more comfortable there. I think it's a guy that's going to be an above average or at least solid shortstop. But the swing is so easy. I think you have a lot of excitement for, like, I think what could be more power than maybe he's getting credit for. But again, he's just kind of born to hit. And I think every year you've got that high school kid that's kind of born to hit. Eli Willits was that last year. You also had JoJo Parker in that department as well. You know, McGonigal was on a different level of the born to hit. But, like, these high school draft prospect kids that are hit tool driven, like, you can sniff it out pretty quickly and say, like, that kid's gonna hit. Now, is it going to be a 55 hit tool in pro ball? And if the power is fringy and the approach isn't great, then maybe there's an uphill battle to be a comfortably above average regular. But odds are when you're at this present point hitting wise, and you have, he's not 5'8", and he's not physically maxed out already. Like there's room for more growth and projection from there. But when you have the baseline that he has already and the swing mechanics that he has already and just the feel overall, I'm really excited about what it's going to look like for him in pro ball. And I think this is a guy that's going to go straight to low A. And then the Rays are a little bit more station to station, but it depends. We've seen them like with Nathan Flewelling, their draft pick, 2 years ago now, or a year ago now. They've been moving him quickly, and he's already at high A as a young for the class catcher and mashing there too. I think this is a guy that they're going to be comfortable moving pretty quickly, and I think he's kind of built to do it.
So we were all really excited about the top 3 picks in this draft, and now the Twins are going to be on the clock.
I'm getting eyeliner allegations on the draft stream. Look at our backdrop.
You're gonna make him.
I woke up this morning. I put on a polo. It was a big deal to just kind of get the hair from not being bedhead. And people then are going to take time before we set this all up. Go put makeup on for our draft stream at the kitchen table.
I saw you in the bathroom. You weren't putting on eyeliner. You just had a little bit of blush and lipstick on.
That's where I draw the line. It's just the blush and lipstick.
It's actually my favorite bit, maybe in the history, and it's our favorite bit.
They're serious. They actually think it.
So, for everyone in the YouTube comments, don't say he's wearing eyeliner. Don't. All right. So we got that. We got that settled. He's not wearing eyeliner.
That said, I mean, if like, what would it be, like Sephora or whatever paid us enough money, I'll do a tutorial.
Hey, if Sephora pays us enough money, I'll wear it.
Impossible to. Do you want me to start ripping eyelashes out like in front of the camera?
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Because this crash shot isn't entertaining at all. So definitely don't keep saying it.
If I was doing it, why would I lie about not doing it? Then I just wouldn't do it anymore.
So what we know for sure, Roch Cholowsky is going number 1. Arm's wearing eyeliner and makeup, and Grady Emerson is going 80 grade makeup. Literally. Which brings us over to Vahn Lackey, who has been said that he has 80 grade makeup. He's not wearing eyeliner. We're talking about his actual personality.
Yeah, can you tell about his makeup?
Yeah, what do you think? Let's talk baseball. Should we do that? Should we talk baseball?
I'm like at 30 seconds away from just putting my face right in front of the camera and being like, look.
That'd be a funny
what it's worth. The pick is in. It is going to be Vahn Lackey.
It is going to be Vahn Lackey. So Vahn Lackey goes to the Minnesota Twins. My Twins drafted my favorite player in the draft. It's a great day to be Peter Apple, that's for sure. It's also a great day to be a Minnesota Twins fan. Again, Vahn Lackey goes 3, but I think we all agree in the same tier as the Emersons and the Roch Cholowskys. So they're getting just an excellent player.
Yeah, and speaking of the makeup of a guy like Vahn Lackey, with Monty Taylor, I'm going to give Monty a shout out because he did a lot of work with Georgia Tech this year, and to be around those guys with Monty as well has been fantastic. And they're very level-headed. They are very respectful. Vahn is incredible. Like, he's an incredibly fun guy to be around. I remember walking up to Monty behind him in Charlotte, and I was like, hey, stop harassing the kids. And Vaughn's sitting there eating ice cream, just giggling his little heart away. It was amazing. And, that's something I kind of look for, too, when you kind of like, I don't think people understand how much makeup really matters in draft processes and interviews. Like, it means a lot to scouts. So,
especially a backstop, man. This is a franchise, like, cornerstone type piece. Like, this is a guy that can change. And not that they need, I mean, they've got Buxton and they've got some exciting prospects, but this is kind of like a culture alterer type of guy, right? Like, this is a guy that gets to your big league team, gets his feet under you, and he kind of ushers that new era. I think that's something that is really exciting. So when you look at somebody like him, I think this is someone you can get really, really excited about, both the talent on the baseball field, but also what he brings to the table as somebody that is going to be I think a franchise face type of player, even if he's not a superstar, player. And I think he can be, right?
Yeah.
If he's an above average regular, and how Minnesota likes their guys, right? And hold on to their guys. I think he can really just kind of be a key piece to usher in this exciting era. I know the Twins are competing right now,
Yeah.
but you think about like Walker Jenkins and Kalen Culpepper getting there. And then, Lackey's going to move pretty quick and not be that far behind. And some of the young talent they have already up there that's been performing pretty well. I think this is a really fun era for Twins baseball where they're pretty competitive now, but there's so much to get excited about in the future. And I think when you look at the catching position, I know you don't draft based on need, and this was just obviously the best player available comfortably.
Yeah.
They could really use a catcher like Lackey to kind of be that next piece for them. Their outfield, they've got a ton of guys. Manuel Rodriguez can stay healthy. They're great there. Now you've got your shortstop and Culpepper. Like they've got all their guys, I think, now at every position where you can – it doesn't always work out perfectly, but you can kind of pencil each of those guys in and say, like, look at this 2029 lineup. This could be special.
Yeah.
This could be special.
And, we talk about, the makeup of Vahn Lackey, but just raw numbers from the season. And I think a big reason why I thought he had a lot of potential to go number one is I thought he had a better 2025 campaign, or 2026. I forget what year we're in. 2026 campaign this season at Georgia Tech over Roch Cholowsky at UCLA. This guy hit 400. Well, to be specific, he hit 397 with a 1291 OPS with 20 plus homers and sneaky 16 steals. Like across the board, this guy was incredible. You said it yourself. He hit 5-0 what? 507 in May? 507 in May. So again, if you're a Twins fan, you didn't get the number one pick, you didn't get the number 2 overall pick, but you're getting a guy that is number 1 overall pick caliber at the number 3 spot, which is not often in drafts. Like the Mariners last year, they got a number 1 overall type pick in Cade Anderson at number 3, but it's not often teams get a guy who could have also gone 1 at number 3.
And they were in disbelief that they got hit 3. Like they were thanking the heavens. And the other fun part, just to show you how close, and of course, this is just from a collegiate performance standpoint, but we're talking about the best guys in the class. Roch Cholowsky's, and this is give or take a percent or two, but Roch Cholowsky's contact rate, 82%, in zone, 88%, chase rate, 21%, average exit velocity was 92.7 miles per hour, and the 90th percentile exit velocity was 108 miles per hour. That was for Roch Cholowsky. Then you go to Vahn Lackey, average contact rate, 83%, so 1% higher. Zone contact, 90%, so 2% higher. Chase rate, 19%, so 2% lower. Average exit velocity, 92.8 miles per hour, which is 0.1 miles per hour higher. I'd probably say within the margin of error there.
Yes.
And then 90th percentile exit velocity, 108 miles per hour. Their batted ball data is identical.
Going back to my original point, I didn't think there was much of a gap between these two players, which if you are a White Sox fan, you're very excited that you got Roch Cholowsky. If you're a Rays fan, you're very excited that you got Grady Emerson. And Twins fans should be equally as excited that they got Vahn Lackey. Now, moving over to the number 4 pick, we've heard a couple of different rumors about guys, right? Could it be Booth? Could it be Flora? Could it be Drew Burress? Could it be Jacob Lombard? This is where we kind of get to the chaotic part of the draft. And before I ask you about that, quick shout out to Podcast Pete producing here. We got a whole team over here at Just Baseball, and we would really appreciate if you just smash the like button and the subscribe button if you are enjoying the stream. We love doing this. We've been live now for over an hour. We're going to go through the rest of the first round. This is one of the best days of the year, and the best way to support our stream is just hitting the like button, sharing it with a friend, get your friends in here, and let's continue to talk chaos, which moves us over to the number 4 overall pick. Who's it going to be? Jackson Flora. Is that who you think it's going to be? Have you heard that's who it's going to be? When you say Jackson Flora, what does that mean?
It's in.
It's in. Yeah. Good timing. It's in. It's Jackson Flora of the San Francisco Giants. And I know our guy Elijah Evans up there saw a lot of Jackson Flora.
And we should clarify too in the chat before we get into Flora that we're not going to be like Twitter scrolling.
Yes, we're not getting the pick super, super early. We're going to go by the draft. So a guy gets drafted, then we're going to talk about it.
If you want to go find out, you can do that.
Yeah, leave it in the comments. Yeah, it's up to you guys how you want to do it, but we're just reacting as the picks come in officially. When Rob Manfred comes out there and probably says Jackson Flora wrong. Like he forgets the R in Flora. It's just Floa.
I was told he pronounced Cholowsky as Cholowsky. And I'm like,
Cholowsky's not a bad name either.
No, it's not. It sounds like a character from Star Wars.
Yeah.
But to go past that, like Flora, I got texted a couple minutes ago that it was going to be Flora at the pick, which is great, not only for our mock but for in general. Like it fits them so well because they don't have a high end pitching prospect in their farm. They really lack that kind of demographic, and to get Flora, like obviously we talked about him as being like at best maybe a 2 or a 3, but again, you kind of take that and you run with it. And with him, it's a lot of elasticity with his delivery. He's super flexible. Not to mention, he's from the Bay Area. If I remember correctly, he grew up just south of Oakland.
Really cool.
So this is kind of just like a hometown pick here as
Went
well.
to UCSB, like
Yeah.
it's like 6 or 7 hours away down in the Central Coast of California.
And you're spot on about the pitching side of things. I mean, the most exciting arm right now in that Giant system is a lower level pitcher in Kiner Martinez. Really exciting guy, but walking 5 for 9, big strikeout stuff. You're hoping he puts it all together. That's your top pitching prospect right now. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of like Person Wiz and Hunt adjacent lefties. So, I think when you look at it from that perspective, to bring in a Flora to this system is just a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
They've got bats, and like the Giants, you could say a lot of negative things about what's gone on lately, but the farm system has been one of the most improved over the last 1.5 to 2 years.
Right.
And a big reason why is that the bats that they have added. They have a few lower level international free agent bats that have been impressive. Bo Davidson's been a really impressive breakout. But outside of that, it's like you're kind of just hoping one of these lower level arms breaks out. What's a great equalizer to that? A polished college arm with high upside. So the other funny part with Flora is like he's going to cut that riding sweeper breaking ball that he throws too, and so does Martinez. And I think it's a really good fit for this team as well. So we're going to play with the camera here a little bit again, but I do love the fit here, and I think for the Giants, it's a right-handed arm that could probably move through the minors quite quickly for them.
I'm also curious too, because when I was doing my player comps, you and I were texting about it, and there's no perfect comp for any player, but he kind of reminded me of Logan Gilbert in the way where it's a big, tall, lanky guy who, with the development of Flora's kick change is somewhat similar to Gilbert's splitter, and they can both run it up to 100 miles an hour, but sit in a similar velocity range. A lot of things would have to go right for Jackson Flora to become the, perennial ace or number 2 in a rotation like Logan Gilbert has. Yeah. But do you see those similarities there?
Yeah, they're similar heights. I think Gilbert's 6'6".
Yeah, I think he's 6'6", and Flora's 6'5".
Yeah, I have him listed as 6'5", 205 on my board. I'd say Gilbert moves pretty well for a big man as well. Like I think Flora's the better mover between the two when you kind of look at it. But you mentioned the kick change with the ghost fork, I guess is what they call it now with him, and like they're pretty similar. Where this pitch kind of comes out of nowhere and it's dominant, probably like the really best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And with Flora, you've got more. There's definitely more field to gain with that pitch. Like this is his first year really throwing that change, like what you mentioned earlier, where he threw like maybe 5 last year, and it was just that traditional circle change that really didn't do much. But then all of a sudden, here we have this kick change, and he goes out against Southern Miss first start of the year, and had like 10 whiffs on the kick change alone, and looked like legitimately a plus pitch.
Yeah.
And like the field in and out of games can get kind of iffy, but to have that strong of a pitch arm side now to his arsenal that was mainly club side, it's impressive, and I think there's a lot more development in front of him than what we've probably talked about today.
Real quick before we get to the 5th overall pick in the draft, UCSB's pitching development needs a shout here. They just had the number 1 pitcher in last year's draft in Tyler Bremner, and then the number 1 pitcher in this draft in Jackson Flora. Clearly, they're creating something down there in Santa Barbara. Like, Tyler, my question would be to you, because you've seen the development of a bunch of arms come through UCSB. And I think it's totally fair now to call them one of college baseball's best pitching factories.
Yep. Andrew Chekas knows his arms, man.
Yep.
They really do. And they've got some really intriguing prospects coming through the pipeline as well. I think number 5 pick, Derek Curiel.
Derek Curiel goes number 5 overall. I remember Arm and I were kind of debating because, again, as a college baseball watcher, I wasn't over the moon about him, but you the more video you would watch, you were like, this guy is going to hit. And he goes number 5 overall.
Yeah, he can hit. He can hit. And I think that's the fun part with him is like, and then you start to see a little bit more pop creeping in there. I think that's the big question there is how much, pop is he ultimately going to hit for? And that kind of affects the ceiling. I think the other part is the defense, but I think it looks like he's come along there to where he can be a solid center fielder. I think where it's fascinating with him is just, you talk about the dip in like tier 2 bats. What's crazy though is you have Burress on the board here, and that's where I'm kind of like, eh. But when you look at the guys behind Burress, there's a lot of I think pros and cons, and I think there's some concerns about like hit tool or defensive ability or things like that. And with Curiel, like you don't have too much question about defensive ability. You don't have question about the hit tool. I think it's probably the best bat to ball guy that's on the board here. And I think that's something that the Pirates are rolling with here, which I think is interesting. Maybe they were, leaning Flora, and if he was there, and since he's not, this was the guy that they had at the top of their board, and they were a little bit nervous about Whip otherwise. Because the interesting thing with him is, other than Hacopian, I think Curiel is the only guy of kind of the top college bats that we're looking at that had a contact rate north of 85%.
Wow.
So I think that's what they're looking at with Curiel. 93% in-zone contact rate this year is the best of, any of these top-end college bats. And they're siding with the hit tool and hoping that there's going to be enough impact there. And I like him because of the floor. And I think there's, again, some flaws with a lot of these other college bats in general. So ultimately, I do understand kind of going that route. I still think the upside of Burress is a little bit too immense to pass on, but I think they're probably going to save a good amount of money here. No, Tyler?
Yeah,
I feel like they have to.
He's at number 11 on your big board, which is not like they didn't just reach for the 28th guy on your big board. He's still at number 11, so you still like him. But I'm curious your thoughts about the pick to the Pirates.
I think the biggest thing is when you look at what the Giants did, just talking to somebody off screen here, it feels like Flora was the number 1 on their board for the Pirates. And my assumption was after last night's trade with like the Pirates are going to go college admittedly at this pick, but they're kind of putting all these chips in to kind of contend right now.
Yeah, they are.
And, deservedly so. They've done a pretty darn good job of developing their core right now. But it just feels to me like Curiel had helium to this pick. And talking to a few guys this morning, I was between him and Burress at this pick on the mock, and this is the first one we get wrong, but
4 out of 5, that's 80% of the mock. Like, if you get 80% of the mock, you're retiring.
Hey, we're at what is this, like a B- at this point right now?
I think it's an A+. I'm giving you an A+.
We'll take it. But yeah, it does
80 grade makeup. 80 grade makeup.
This definitely is the Pirates screaming to get this guy. It's somebody they've had in consideration for a while. And if Flora wasn't there, it was probably going to be either him or Burress. Again, probably like with Aram, I probably do prefer Burress a lot more just because of the fact that there's more power there. But left-handed hitter with that kind of swing, that kind of approach, and also can play center field as well. I think you depending on how you look at handedness, you probably go for the left.
Is Jeff McNeil a decent comp?
I mean,
Jeff McNeil was a great big leaguer for a long time.
If he could play. We didn't get to see Jeff McNeil play a lot of like center at his like peak athleticism, but like that's the difference. If he's playing an above average center and you're getting Jeff McNeil type of offense, it's a good player. I think it's a really high probability big leaguer, and that's what they're leaning on here. And
yeah,
I'm sure they have a guy circled that they really like with the comp A pick they traded. So what would it be with the 2nd round pick for them? With the Pirates?
Because they just traded away their 34th overall pick.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have 51 too. They have the comp pick for Angel Cervantes last year.
Yeah, so they're gonna probably be ready to go on a no. there might be some other fun picks coming along, but I like it. I think it's a safe pick, and ultimately, I think he's a guy that if he can add even just 40 grade pop, the hit tool and the feel for the strike zone is going to really help him.
Wow, so it seems like the pick is in. Rob Manfred is coming on the board, and he announces Zion Rose to the Kansas City Royals as the 6th overall pick. So we pretty much went chalk 1 through 4, and now here is the mayhem. Zion Rose, number 6. Where does he slot in on your big board?
So Zion Rose 26 on the final 313. The thing was, so leading up to the draft, there were some rumors that the Royals were going to do something funky here. There was a rumor.
This is funky.
Yeah, like Mason Edwards was considered here for like $5.8 million a couple weeks ago coming out of Combine. That kind of fell off the face of the earth a little bit after a week. But when I was talking to a couple people at USA last week, they had mentioned to me that the Royals love Zion Rose. But I would have never expected at 6.
They love Zion Rose.
They
love Zion Rose.
I would have thought at 30. I felt like that was the best way to kind of go. But apparently, I'm a dumbass.
No. I mean, I don't think anyone on the internet predicted Zion Rose to the Royals.
No.
Like, I never heard that at all, even remotely close. Like, for example, I'm sure you heard that the Royals love a couple of different guys, but probably didn't expect Zion Rose to be the pick here. What are your thoughts on the Royals as drafters generally? Like, for example, are they a team where they draft Zion Rose and you say to yourself, okay, maybe I didn't immediately like this player, but I trust the Royals? Or is it a sense of the Royals have not had a lot of success, and this is another pick where you're unsure about? Or maybe it's in the middle.
It's in the middle because, you know, in the past, I didn't love how they've gone about things, but they've shifted around, like who's in there and who's making the decisions. And, like, you can't hate the Cags pick. At all. And that wasn't as easy as people think. Like, Cags, like, he was polarizing.
100%.
And I loved him, but he was polarizing. And then you look at, like, what they did last year. Time will still tell. But Josh Hammond's on our top 100 list. They took him at 28th. And before that, they took Sean Gamble at 23rd. And Gamble struggled a little bit out of the gate. But I love the creativity. 2 high school, high upside guys.
Yeah.
They really, I think, had a good approach there. So I think they've been going a little bit more unique there. I think you can't hit the Blake Mitchell pick in 23 either. But they love creativity last year. And I think they really liked just in the early going how much talent they were able to accumulate in last year's draft. And I think they're looking to spray the board here a little bit more too, or they're going to buy somebody down, I think, later. And I'm curious what you think on that front, Tyler. Like, they're going to save a crap load of money here. They went with they had 2 players that they signed to, you know, it was nearly $4 million for Gamble and then $3 million for Hammond. Hammond looks like the better player out of the gate early this year. Is this going to be another one of those instances where they're going to go like $3+ million on their next pick?
They're going to go big fish hunting at 30, I feel like. Because my assumption with Rose being taken at 6 is we're looking for massive underslot. That's my assumption right now. And like I mentioned earlier, I knew they loved Zion, but like I wasn't expecting this. But again, it kind of plays in with all the rumors we've heard.
What about the player that Zion Rose is? Because we've talked a lot about the Royals as drafters. We've talked about, you know, their recent trends. You know, just looking at, you know, what Arm pulled up here, it seems like the only pick that ended up being a quote-unquote bust for them was Asa Lacy. What was that, like 4 years ago, where they took him number 4 overall? But the draft before that, they got Bobby Witt Jr. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's all right.
Bet on him to win MVP over at BetMGM. So I'm curious, Zion Rose, the player, like what should Royals fans expect?
So Zion Rose, I'm going to pull up his data here just to kind of give us a baseline, because this was obviously when I wasn't expecting to quit because it like be on so early. But he's been a 3-year starter at Louisville, and he was a catcher as a prep. Moved off a catcher, went to the outfield. He's probably a left fielder at the next level, admittedly. But
maybe the Royals think he's a center fielder. Maybe that's
might.
why. Right?
They absolutely might. And I heard rumors that there was a potential that he could do it, but obviously with Lucas Moore in Louisville, it's tough for him to move over to that position. But he can run. He's more of a slashy hitter than he is like a power guy. And what I mean by that is like he's going to prioritize putting the ball in play more than he will, you know, going for the fence. He only hit 16 runs this year. Yeah. But he was also injured for the majority of the beginning of the year. You kind of get the data. His fast with 90% contact rate, has an 84% contact rate. Chase rate came down a lot this year, which was impressive for me. The fly ball rate also came down a bit, but that was to be expected. Like last year, he had like a 35% fly ball rate. It wasn't sustainable in my opinion. And he definitely operates a lot better as this guy that is a high contact, high on base, you know, threat who can really use his legs on the bases and also provide some value in the field in some manner. Can he get more power? I think he can. He has proven he can hit for power. Just how much more, I don't know. I think it's more like average, but with Zion, it's still a very good player. Like, don't get me wrong. Just because we think it's a not a reach per se, but like an interesting pick, it doesn't disqualify as a player itself. The player is very good. And with Rose, like Yes, he's ranked 26 on your big board, but there is obvious talent there from the get-go.
And it looks like at the number 7 pick, the Baltimore Orioles select Eric Booth Jr. He's one of your guys.
Mm-hmm.
You knew the Orioles were pretty much in love with him. They were probably jumping up and down knowing that Booth was going to fall to them at 7. How excited on the scale of 9 to 10 should Orioles fans be about getting Booth?
I would say very excited. This is getting a really, really good talent at a position that I, again, thought that it wouldn't be here. I thought he would be the Royals pick at 6, which, in hindsight, the Royals did like him. But now looking at it, obviously, when he has Iron Rose and get the discount that he has, I think we always know what they're doing. The O's were the floor for Booth. And I mentioned it earlier today, even earlier in the week, we really had him there. So I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit. But, this is the kind of player that they've been looking for the past couple of years. I don't think the Orioles care much about risk because obviously look at Vance Honeycutt.
Yep.
Vance Honeycutt's hitting $160 with 40% K rate, but he hits bombs.
But to be fair to the Orioles, watching Vance Honeycutt at UNC, I was like, I'd take him number 1 overall.
Yeah.
He looked so unbelievable. So it's like, I don't blame the Orioles. Obviously, I would have taken him number 1 overall, but I just loved watching him play because he was a dynamic talent. And there's some risk sometimes with, and I feel like Booth falls into that where they're more lottery ticket-ish players where there's more downside, but the upside could be immense. And their system clearly, like, we keep betting on these guys. One of them's going to pop, and Booth might be that guy.
Yep. And Booth, like I had mentioned before, he again, first at bat, seeing him in person, 108 full double. Sold immediately because he busted down the line, and I was like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about the O's and in this situation, Vance Honeycutt, it was some of the highest, whiff of a first-round pick that you're going to find, but you're willing to take that chance because it's an 80, glove in center field.
And did you see his flow?
Yeah. But then with somebody like Booth, you get a lot more time to be able to develop that guy as a hitter and to refine the swing. And I think about what the Orioles have had a lot of success with. Gunnar Henderson's swing was not great when he was drafted. Kobe Mayo, and I know he's still putting it together at the big league level, but he clearly turned into a really valuable prospect. His swing needed work when they drafted him, and he really developed nicely. They've done a good job with a lot of their prospects in terms of kind of improving the swing, improving the mechanics, and I think getting more out of them through the minor leagues. And I think when you look at the skill set that Booth has, that's a guy that you can probably feel pretty good about being able to develop him. Whereas with Honeycutt, it's like, he's already out of college. Like, you're going to try, but there's a kind of what is to a degree at that point. Whereas with Booth, this is a really good athlete who's still super young, who maybe even hasn't had the same level of hitting instruction that even some of the other high school guys have had. There's a lot more to work with and build on there that I think the Orioles are excited about, and they've been more than willing to take on, in recent years with the confidence that they have and kind of their hitting development through the minor leagues.
Before we move on to the 8th pick, special shout out to our friends at Hampton Farms Peanuts, who is the presenting sponsor of this draft stream. And ladies and gentlemen, go get yourself some Hampton Farms peanuts, whether it be in shell, whether that be out of shell. I feel like I'm going through all the inventory. I mean, all the honey roasted, I'm eating the sea salt. They're phenomenal peanuts. Remember to go to hamptonfarms.com and use promo code JUSTBASEBALL in order to get 25% off. I promise. Take my advice. Honey roasted peanuts. They are incredible. Now we're still, the camera is still working its way through, but it's okay because we're still going through the draft. And again, Orioles at pick number 7 go with EJ Booth Jr. And at number 8 on your mock, Tyler, the A's are on the clock. Where do you think they go? Because the A's, they're an interesting team because they've made a lot of quote unquote shocking picks at the time that end up really working out for them. I remember so clearly the Jacob Wilson pick, where I think a lot of us were like, okay, we get that his contact skills are off the charts, but how is everything else going to work? And the A's really trust that, and it ended up being underslot at 7. And now you have a really solid shortstop option. They went with Nick Kurtz. They've done a really, really good job in the draft. It just might not be what, your mock or other mocks have. But I'm curious from your perspective, where do you think the A's go?
I had heard between three different guys. It was Hacopian, it was Helfrick, it was Bell. Looks like it is actually going to be.
Looks like it's Drew Burress, number 8 overall. And I wish the camera was working so we could see Arum's face right now. The smile that Arum just gave for a team that he really respects in the draft, drafting a guy that you love, but continue on Drew Burress.
Yeah, Drew Burress, like this is, I don't think they were expecting him to be here. I had Burress mocked at, I believe it was 5 to the Pirates, which obviously that didn't happen, but you know, it is what it is. But like him himself, we talk about Lackey being this like 80 grade muggle guy. Burress is a true leader on the field. He really has that entire team kind of like not wrapped around his finger, but he's very unequivocally the lead guy on that squad this
100%.
year. And you know, we talked about it earlier where, you know, I think he is a center field defender now. The hit tool, depending on how you look at it, I think freshman year was definitely his peak where he was very good at hitting fastballs. He still is, but he's gone from like 6% to 13% whip, which it's not a big jump, but that is still noteworthy considering what it was.
Yeah.
But had some trouble with changeups and some breaking balls this year, but you're still for 5'9", 185 and hitting the ball 170 here is bonkers. And I think he's definitely going to be the trend breaker when you look at a guy that size being successful. So I think for Burress, it's definitely it's an A's pick where they go after this kind of like big conference guy like Jamie Arnold, Jacob Wilson. Wilson wasn't really a big conference, but like Green Candy was good that year.
Green Candy was great that year.
But yeah, it definitely makes sense for them. It really does feel like their MO is just 4 straight years with a college.
And a good one, fell into their lap. They didn't have to pull off an underslot deal or do anything creative and make it happen. And I think this just had to comfortably be the best guy on their draft board. But I mean, when you talk about exit velocities of the tier 1 and tier 2 college bats, he has the highest 90th percentile exit velocity of the group at 110 miles per hour. So the upside that you're getting here with Burress, and then funny that the Floriano comp is he's going to the athletics there as well. I just think this is a really fun player that to be able to get him in this draft where the Athletics got him, they've got to be just jumping up and down. I think this is
got to be the best favorite pick of the draft so far.
So far, I think it's got to be the best value pick. And a pick that I don't even know if the Athletics were expecting to be able to make.
Are you there with Arum that this is the best value pick? I know we're just 8 picks in. Those answers could clearly change. But just from so far, is this your favorite based on the slot player type of pick?
Yeah, just the pairing of the player and team. And then also when you look at it, you know, I had him 5 on my board. He falls 15. Kind of take that for what it's worth to go with it.
And shout out to Sut, this guy with his exit velocities at Sutter Health. Actually, will he be up in time to play at the Sut before they move to Vegas? Well, Vegas is also a launching pad too.
Yeah, he'll move pretty quickly, I think. But yeah, or he'll go to Vegas and be in the launching pad. I think he'd be up there by in the next 2 years, without a doubt.
Real quick before we move to pick number 9, who do you think is going to be the quickest to the bigs of the first 8 so far?
That'd be Roch, right?
Roch. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. He went number 1 overall.
Yeah.
But again, special shout out to Podcast P for producing. And thank you to everybody who's been joining. We're getting a ton of people in this live. We're having so much fun. And again, the best way to support these live streams is to like and subscribe. And we got the number 9 pick. Rob Manfred is announcing the Braves select A.J. Gracia, outfielder from the University of Virginia. Now, I don't know if you caught that on the mic. These two, they're not in love with it. Me personally, Braves fans, I'm actually the person you should trust the least, but I'm a big fan of A.J. Gracia. He ranked at the University of Virginia. Oh, you're giving me this. You're a big fan of Gracia. Okay, good.
I've been a Gracia fan for 3 years.
We love it. Never mind.
I think this guy
trust Tyler, not
is absolutely going to hit for both average and power to the next level. Just looking at it, like last year, he got off to a rough start, was hitting like $190 in April, and then turned around and started hitting 300 towards the end of the year because he had such a torrid second half. And I get it, the swing's not going to be for everybody. You know? Like, depending on who you ask, the hands kind of don't work as well as you probably hope it would. But it's super smooth, super easy, has lock to it. It's not twitchy, but it's powerful is probably the best way to describe it. And then at the same token, there's been obviously rumors of injury plague throughout the year. I saw him hit a 109-mile-an-hour double this year in Charlotte as well. So at the end of the year, he was getting better. And for me, when you have a mix of hit and power like he does, I say you still just bet on that and kind of figure out defense later. I think he's a left fielder, but
My question is the power.
yeah.
Do you think an injury was hampering the EVs as much? I mean, we're talking about like he's kind of in his own department, I think, in terms of like average exit velocity exit velocity below 90 miles per hour with metal. You got like a 90th percentile of like 103.
I'm surprised to hear that.
So was I.
Yeah.
When I was looking at it, I like the swing a lot, which is a funny part. I know it's not for everybody. I think it sets him up to be able to handle velocity well, air pull well, and I think he can outslug those exit velocities. But that's where I'm kind of like an outslug the exit velocities corner outfield guy. Do you think the expectation is he grows into more power, or that he's hurting up tampering some of the EVs? Because again, I really do like the swing mechanics and what could be building off of that. I'm just surprised there's not as much kind of explosion and impact there.
I think there's a mix of both there where he's going to grow into more power, but also there's a non-zero chance that the injury was affecting his ability to hammer the baseball as hard as he has in the past. And when you also look at, first off, just the bat to ball skills in general, 84% contact rate across 3 seasons in the ACC is wildly impressive. Looking at his synergy here, only one pitch he had real troubles with, or quote-unquote trouble, sliders. 21% career whiff rate in college. That is super manageable, super easy. Doesn't chase a lot. I think he's definitely more walks and strikeouts throughout his career as well. And I remember the first time seeing him at Duke, I'm like, okay, this is at least potentially a big league here.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I don't necessarily know what the upside was at the time, but I was like, this guy is going to get drafted in the first round in some fashion in the next 2 years.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Number 9 to the Braves. Do you think it's a little high, or do you think it does make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I love Gracia as a player, as a person.
Yeah.
We had him on the podcast. He was super nice to us.
Where was he on your big board?
Big board. He was in the top 15. He was 13.
There we go. So it's about where you feel very comfortable taking it.
And to back Tyler's, point there too, this past year, 85% contact rate against fastballs, 80% against breaking balls, 80% against splits and changeups. I think the Braves are and the Braves do like their kind of slightly above average corner outfielders. Like if that's what Gracia ends up being, so be it.
Pick and you get like a 2-3 win player who puts up like a 110 W. What about the defense? Because you talked a lot about the bat. Where is he at defensively? And I know if you see Tyler on his phone, he's not just scrolling Twitter. This guy is sending messages all over the league and getting more and more intel to share with us.
This is the Lombard pick. Right?
We're at pick number 10. AJ Gracia is maybe on our draft podcast. It will come out tomorrow. With the 10th overall pick in the 2026 MLB Draft,
Tyler Bell.
The Colorado Rockies select Tyler Bell from the University of Kentucky. It was funny. This is another guy that we were talking about last night that, correct me if I'm wrong, was dealing with injury, but is still a mega talent.
Yeah. So to go back to Gracia on the defensive question, I don't think he's going to be an outstanding defender. Left field, if you're being played in left field, defense isn't necessarily the big part. It's like the first base of the outfield.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I think he's serviceable out there, but the bat's going to be the profile. Yeah, pusher on that one. But when we're talking about a guy like Tyler Bell, first weekend of the year, tears his labrum in his non-throwing shoulder, or has enough of an injury to take him out for a couple weeks, comes back, plays through it, and he's a fascinating case, legitimately. Looking at some of his splits, you go before 2 strikes, he's kind of free swinging. He has a lot of bat-to-ball issues. But when he gets to 2 strikes, he's super compact, and he actually does a very good job of holding off strikeouts. And I don't want to say he's passive, I don't want to say he's selective, but he's good enough at drawing walks to where there's upside offensively, but the bat-to-ball skills need some work. Maybe I haven't looked at the video enough to determine what's the difference between his, 1 strike or 0 count swing to compare to his 2 strike swing. But if you can get combine both of those and get something out of it for a switch hitter like him would be perfect. And so I think it's a very clear power over hit profile. I think his max EV this year is 111, 112. That's even with the shoulder injury. His pop from both sides of the plate. He looked viable as a shortstop defender when I saw him a year ago at USA, and I still stand by stand by that. I think he's a very solid defender there. So this is not a bad pick whatsoever. It's still from my big board. I think we actually lost it. So this is actually like
Another winner.
it kind of feels good to get the top 10 right, but we're not here for the mock. We're here for the player, and Tyler Bell is admittedly a good player.
For reference, with 2 strikes, and it's just something I was looking at a week ago because I thought it was pretty nuts. He's an OPS over 1,000 this past year, Tyler Bell. So there's something to figure out there for Bell. Like, whatever I'm doing there, I maybe need to hone in on that a little bit more early in the count. And that's something that I'm sure in professional baseball he will refine. 92% contact rate with 2 strikes, 82% contact rate overall.
That's ridiculous.
56% hard hit rate. He's looking better with 2 strikes. So there's something there to kind of shrink the zone early. Clearly, he just was kind of wanted to do damage, had intent, and that got exposed a little bit. And of course, these teams like Tyler Bell circled for them. It says, hey, he's going to expand early. Make him expand.
He's going to try and hit a homer on 0-1, but then when he gets
the problem is,
0-2,
congrats, you got ahead. How do you put him away? And he was really hard to be put away. So that's something that I think makes his profile kind of hard to fully capture. Because like, what could it look like when he refines that? It's very rare to see a kind of dichotomy like that. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. I think it's a fun pick, and clearly they're not worried about the injury too much, and I think that's encouraging as well. Defensively, though, Tyler, where does he line up for you?
We're talking about Bell, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like,
we're still on the phone. We're getting intel.
Yeah, sorry. I can definitely tell you the Nationals do have their pick in. I'm not going to spoil it for our own sake, but with Bell, I would say he's an average, maybe above average defender at shortstop. I think he's like I mentioned earlier, with him being in the middle infield with Roch at USA, they were both very smooth, very agile, but you could tell Roch was the better defender, like without a doubt. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that Tyler Bell's a bad defender.
No, not at all.
Yes.
I think he's definitely worth a shot of being a above average defender at shortstop at the next level.
So you think he sticks at short? I think that's the main sticking point. Because again, if you're drafting Tyler Bell, you like the bat, but a big reason why he's going 10th overall is because you think he can stick at shortstop, which you agree with the Rockies assessment.
Yes, absolutely. And then I kind of like this pick for the Rockies too. It fits Coors well with that power play. I think it's going to be a pretty solid bat overall. Just improve that approach / bat the ball issue, if you want to call it that.
Do you think he's currently better than Ezekiel Tovar? It's 520 OPS.
He wouldn't be much worse.
It's so funny. It's so funny just how baseball works, though, because we watch Ezekiel Tovar play in the World Baseball Classic, and he nearly won the MVP. And then he goes into Major League Baseball this year and just has been stinking up the joint. And again, he's still so much talent. Like, by no means am I giving up on him. It's just it's such a tough sport, baseball is. So to see him struggling like that, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But of course, they're not drafting for Ezekiel Tovar's replacement. They are drafting for the best player available on their board. And another quick reminder again, guys, the best way to support this YouTube draft live stream, make sure to smash the like button and the subscribe button. It's the best way to help us out for absolutely free. And remember to go check out our friends at Hampton Farms Peanuts. Remember to use code JUSTBASEBALL for 25% off the best peanuts money can buy. So we got Tyler Bell going to 10. The Nationals, you said you didn't want to spoil it.
Can we just check to see where Rob Manfred is on the board here?
Rob Manfred appears that he has not shown his face yet. Maybe you'll just be Manfred. You'll break the peg for us.
I know how to pronounce player names properly.
The pick is in. Here comes Manfred.
Well, I'm excited because I have an immediate question depending on what this pick is. So we'll see.
Can I just spoil
it? Yeah, you can spoil it.
Way up. Chris Hacopian.
Wow. Okay, so this makes things really fun. So I want to start though. We'll start by talking about Hacopian. The guy, in terms of the players available, that's probably the most exciting bat, right? I mean, you look at the hit and power combination of what can be there. Swings a little bit flat, some defensive questions, but when you look at how hard he hits the ball and how often he hits the ball, probably the most exciting template to add to the fold here in Hacopian. The question then comes the defense and some injuries as well that maybe he's been playing through.
Yeah. So I was able to talk with a couple people this morning about the potential leg injury that they had this year. It sounds like it wasn't a broken leg, which is good. He didn't play through one.
That's always good when you don't break your leg.
But
That's
he had a broken foot in the fall. He also had a chronic back issue throughout the year as well. So there's a lot of stuff to kind of like look at that and go, okay, the durability is a concern. However, you look at what he's been able to do with the bat this year. And I think that's what's going to drive his profile. He's a second baseman for me. He was third base at Maryland last year when he was there. So when you look at what he was able to do, 11 whiffs total on fastballs this year, two within the zone, mind you. So he's putting up elite bat to ball skills on velocity, which is already a plus for me. Then you also look at it, he had an 86% rate overall, had a little bit more issues with sliders this year, but the SEC, it's going to happen when you go from the Big Ten to the SEC. Doesn't chase a ton. There's some underlying power there too. Like I think the injuries with the back this year kind of hampered him a little bit. But I remember seeing him take Brett Renfroe deep in Texas on a changeup that he adjusted to so well, despite having a bad back. So
he was arguably college baseball's most complete hitter. Like from all areas, the guy can just hit. I think what probably had him slide down, like for example, if he even had a sniff of an ability to stick at shortstop, I feel like Chris Hacopian goes even much higher than number 11. But I think it's because is he a second baseman? Is he a third baseman? The bet here is on the bat. And again, in college baseball, just looking at last season, arguably the most complete hitter in the country.
Yeah. Just in terms of pure bat to ball skills and power pairing, this is without a doubt one of the better ones. Like we talked about AJ Gracia having that kind of hit and power profile from the left side. I do think Hacopian's a little bit better. Even though he's a right-handed hitter, I think Hacopian's proven that he can do 55 to 60 in terms of raw power.
And Arm, you're a big fan of Paul Taboni, the new GM of the Washington Nationals. And I mean, me personally, I was a big fan watching Chris Hacopian this year. He is a big fan of Chris Hacopian. Your thoughts, this pick, Paul Taboni?
Based on this draft, I think this is bat-wise, this is the most exciting bat you can be adding. And I think with Taboni, you got to be bought in on what he's been doing and what they've been able to do from both a scouting and player development standpoint. I think you got to see more on the scouting, but like from the player development side of things, like they've got a bunch of guys making leaps this year, and I don't think it's a coincidence from the top to the bottom. So this is a player that you're excited that you're able to get your hands on because the bat's already really close. You maybe a little bit of a path improvement, which they just did with Seaver King, by the way. Seaver King, similar, like hit the ball really hard, a little flat swing wise. Now he's found more loft, and he's a top 100 prospect, and he's been mashing through AA, now AAA. I think this is a guy that they're very much hoping they can get a little bit more loft in the swing, and then find the ability to kind of, with that, I think we'll be able to air pull more. And then it gets exciting about what could be in terms of the power upside there for a guy that, I mean, bat to ball wise was as good as anybody. I mean, when you look at, we're talking about bat to ball with Gracia and Curiel, 92% zone contact for Hacopian was right there with them. Swing decisions were good as well. And then you have a 90th percentile exit velocity that is kind of in between, but a step above. I think most of the other bat to ball oriented guys like Gracia and Curiel sitting at like 106 and change for Hacopian.
And I can't help but notice, Tyler, that there is a certain high school bat who was mocked by multiple outlets. And I know you've changed up your mock and you still had Flora at 4. But a guy like Jacob Lombard, I'm not saying he's sliding, but if you look at a lot of publicly available mock drafts, he was getting selected again anywhere from 4 to 8. We're at the 11th pick and his name hasn't come up yet. Have you heard anything?
I can definitely tell you right now, this is not shocking me in the slightest that Lombard is falling. I think when you look at recent drafts, you look at Elijah Green, for example. This is a comparison that we've talked about, like Joe Dolan, guy. Lombard has all these tools and all the big upside in everything but the hit tool. And that's the scary thing. You look at like Elijah Green, who went top 5.
Same thing. And
he's in the high A right now, and is kind of struggling a little bit and has been for a few years. But then you look at Lombard, who had the same kind of statistical summer last year. He struggled to make contact, and it wasn't just velocity; it was really just everything.
Yeah.
Which sucks because you see that a player of that caliber, he made an incredible diving play. If there's anybody that's going to match Roch Cholowsky's 70 glove grade I think it's Lombard.
Wow.
That should be a testament to how good he is defensively. He's also a plus runner. The power, if you unlock more contact, it's definitely a plus power guy. but I've always been a little bit worried about where is the hit tool kind of work. And if you talk to depending on who you talk to, you'll get a good answer or a not so great answer. And there's no real in between. So it's very polarizing. I see Jared Grindlinger. The Angels have taken a prep player in the first round.
Wow, not a college guy. They take the two-way player, Jared Grindlinger, on the mound, left-handed pitcher, but at the same time can play some outfield as well. Really good hitter. The Angels go prep for the first time, like you just said, in a long time. We're used to the Angels going with the college bat who is most ready, and then they bring him up. However, there's a new man in charge.
Yes.
This is John Mozeliak's draft, not Perry Minasi, and they're going a different direction. And I feel like with Gridlinger, you're getting a lot of upside here.
Yes, absolutely. And I mentioned it the other day on stream, and probably more than just our stream. It was another stream too, where you can legitimately put him at the complex for 2 years because he's 17 years and 2 months old. This is like Ken Griffey Jr. youth.
This is a child.
Essentially, yeah. But
This is a grown man child.
Yes, he was a late reclass this year. I think he reclassed in like February. But depending on who you talk to, they were like, we like the arm, but also we like the bat. So I think there's a legitimate chance that you can let him two-way at the complex for 2 years and kind of let him carve his own path, like I mentioned on the stream the other day, where, hey, if he doesn't hit, like, okay, you're an arm, you touch 96 with a hammer. Like, this is how we're going to develop you. Or you're going to look at it and be like, well, we think you might just be a reliever or something. And it's like, but we like the upside in the bat. Do we think that, hey, let you play center field, maybe even right field, and kind of let you grow into your body a little bit? And it kind of comes of it. So there's a lot of pathways you can go with a guy like Grindlinger where, you know, if one doesn't work, he goes the other. Maybe he does legitimate two-way.
Yeah.
He's the best guy I've seen be able to do it at the amateur level.
Really?
To this point, like there's a lot of two ways in high school and everything like that, but almost none of them are ever going to be able to stick like that. I think Grindlinger has a chance to at least start there. Does he debut as a two-way? Still TBD. We're definitely at least 5 and 6 years away from knowing if he will or not. But this is as close of a guy that you're going to find to be that two-way person.
Let's say he wasn't a two-way guy. This is a question for the both of you. Either can just jump in whenever. Do you think it's more likely he ends up as a pitcher, or do you think it's more likely he ends up as a bat?
I like the bat better.
You like the bat better. Arm, do you agree with that?
I haven't seen enough of him doing both to really be able to make that
claim. Yeah.
The fun part with a guy like that is like you get to find out like both kind of risky in the respect that you have a really young left-handed hitting prep, but you also have a really young left-handed throwing prep. One of them is going to be the backup plan, and it might, or just works right out of the gate. What's interesting is to see if he can do both. And I wonder if the Angels, do you think the Angels are doing this, Tyler, with the hope that he actually can do both?
I would assume so.
And I know people are going to make the Ohtani jokes and whatever. Like, oh, they're looking for the next one.
I mean, who is it?
It's funny that they take the two-way guy, but to that point, if you're going to give a two-way guy a shot, I always think it's rare and you almost shouldn't even consider it that much. But if he's this young,
he's 17
take your sweet time,
months.
Take your sweet time and see if he can really do it. Because usually it's like, oh gosh, he's 19 already now. He's going to be 20. It's like we got to pick a lane and go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's going to be 21, stuck in low A,
yeah,
and not mastered either yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you get to the big leagues? He's got so much time. To Tyler's point, that's like, let's give this a year and a half, 2 seasons.
He could be a junior in high school right now.
Yeah. And then at that point, we'll see which way it goes. And I think that part's fun.
Yeah, that is really fun. I feel like this pick by the Angels, you had him, what was it? What was he on your board? I know you mocked him 13 to the Cardinals, which is, again, one pick beyond this one.
He was 16 on my board.
So this is a round where you expected him to be picked.
And I would imagine we see a run on preps here in the next couple of picks as well.
You think so? No Jacob Lombard yet, though.
No Gio Rojas.
No Rojas yet.
Well, actually, we just got number 13 overall pick. The St. Louis Cardinals select Trevor Condon, another prep bat, another smooth left-handed swing, an outfielder.
He's very old school. Am I allowed? I think, you look at the swing a little bit, and he's got this weird trigger where
Yeah,
he
I
kind of
don't
sits there and waits, and then he goes, but
I
the
don't like
hands go from like here to here a little bit. But he fixed that up. This is all from last summer.
He also looks really athletic.
Yeah, he looks like a freak athlete.
Freak athlete.
He is a spark plug type of player.
Yeah.
Like put him in at 1 or 2 in your lineup, and he's gonna be a high on base guy. He can mash as well. He had more power this spring than he did last summer. And admittedly for him, they've kind of fixed the swing a little bit to where he's not as like going from this number to here. He's kind of like a slow drift, and then he goes, which is great for him because going from here and stopping, that's admittedly kind of like a tough hitch because then you have to go from here to here.
Yeah.
And you're just not catching velocity at that rate.
Do you agree with the kind of mechanics? But at the end of the day, this is a prep bat. You get him into the Cardinals organization, and maybe they feel like they can tweak a couple of things with that swing and maybe bring out that athleticism even further because it's clear how athletic he is.
It's a high boom draft. I think, the fact that he's refined the mechanics a little bit, because I didn't like the hand pump down kind of checkpoint, and then the hands are coming up so late there. But he's clearly a freak athlete, a guy that they're really excited to add to the fold, I think, with the physical talent that he has. And Time Bloom, man, like, that guy knows what he's doing on the draft side.
I trust him.
I trust what he's doing on that front. We have Peacock cutting to Pete Carl Armstrong. Please don't do that. But there is a lot of talent and upside
At
here.
the 13th pick, they're getting an MVP.
Yeah. But I think that is to a point of that. You're getting an elite runner. You're getting a guy that can, defend and does have a good feel to hit despite, the kind of rocky mechanics. And you figure if you refine that a little bit, this could be a guy that has huge, huge, huge upside. And in a draft like this, to get the upside that they're getting there, I think is really exciting.
Speaking of upside, Miami at 14, Jacob Lombard.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no way they could I figured they had to take one of the 2 South Florida kids.
Yes.
And I felt like no way they were going to let a Miami kid,
a guy with this much upside,
a Miami kid, big league roots, like if they had passed on Lombard and he ends up reaching his potential, I don't think they'd ever forgive themselves there as a Miami kid. So I think they were hoping that he would land to them. And, in the last couple of drafts, there's been some run-ups that didn't work in their favor. And I'd imagine that Frankie Valeri and the Marlins are pretty happy with this one.
I also have a question for the both of you because, for example, Tyler, you were talking about it earlier with not an Elijah Green comp, but just an example of a guy with loud tools across the board, but the hit tool is the biggest concern. And maybe if he was drafted 4th overall or 5th or 6th, you might have more concerns because wow, you're putting, a lot into this guy. But now with the 14th pick in the draft, I feel like if we're talking about value, yes, he's not a perfect prospect, but he's also going in the middle of the first round, not the top of the first round.
Mm-hmm. I think it's easier to stomach this pick potentially not working out than if you picked him in the top 5.
Exactly.
Which is exactly what Elijah Green is.
Exactly. Like if Elijah Green went 20, obviously we don't want to say that Jacob Lombard is just going to end up being Elijah Green and struggling at high A. It's just an example of a guy. How about this? Let me pose a different question to you. Because you've been doing this for a long time. You do such a great job at the draft. Seriously, go check out more of his work on justbaseball.com and check out the College Baseball Show and On the Clock.
I would have a joke for this to never hate myself, but I'm not going to do that.
So, what is another example of a prospect that had loud tools? The hit tool was a little bit of a concern, but it worked.
That's a good question.
That's
out
also
of high school.
Out of high school.
Connor Griffin.
Yeah.
So the Marlins just drafted Connor Griffin or Elijah Green.
Yeah, and that's why this is scary. That's why those guys fall. Like Connor Griffin had 1 talent, but hit tool concern, and he falls a little bit further. Lombard doesn't quite have that upside, but he has huge upside and the concern, so he falls a little bit. So that's the gamble with a player like this. And I think it gets to a certain point where it's like, okay, I picked 14 with where we're at. I'll roll the dice on that.
Yeah, because think about it. Who else on the board? Ryder Helfrick is still available. Sawyer Stroh-Snyder is still available. Those are guys who are a little bit higher on Tyler's board. If you were the Marlins and you're Peter Bendix, if you're not in love with Helfrick and you're not in love with Stroh-Snyder, again, those are college bats, so they're a little bit older. why wouldn't you
Yeah,
roll
why
the
wouldn't you
dice
go?
on Lombard?
Especially, and again, especially they've probably seen this kid as much as any team.
Can I be honest? I'm talking myself into loving.
Yeah, I mean,
like
they've probably
at
seen
14?
this guy as much as anybody has, given
Yeah.
he's in their own backyard. And look,
Get him in the cage with Otto.
seriously.
Literally.
Well, and I think they feel confident in their hitting development now.
Yeah.
This isn't. If the Marlins of 4 years ago made this pick, I'd be like, oh, he's good. Poor guy. Poor guy. He's got no shot. But now it's like, they have their infrastructure. They've helped guys with hit tool concerns at the highest level. Look at what Kyle Stowers has done. Look at some of the other. I mean, Joe Mack and his development as a huge whiff and really has closed that up. And there's so many other guys that have done that, and they've had the confidence to take like a Kemp Alderman. I know he was before this regime, but even Kemp Alderman has made the progress he's made. Brendan Compton, big with concerns, huge power, has made a lot of progress this year. So I think this is a situation where they're saying if hit tool is the biggest concern, we know the makeup's there, we know the bloodlines are there, and we trust our infrastructure. We can get this guy to a fringy hit tool. Fringy hit tool, he's a what? For how long?
5-tool player. Easy.
Yeah.
Like you just got to get the hit tool to at least 40. I feel like if you get enough of the tools to be like a 3 to 4 win player.
Yeah.
Just with the defense and everything else in between in that one.
Yeah.
Jesus which I can't control that.
No, it's all good. And no, I'm really excited for the Marlins at this pick. And someone brought it up. I think it was Lucas33 in our YouTube comment section that he thinks now we're going to see a run on pitchers. Are you guys aligned on that?
Soon.
Probably soon, but right now the D-backs are going with a hitter. Not going to spoil it yet because we're still watching the Lombard pick on stream there.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a hitter.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler. There have been some quote unquote surprising picks, but I actually thought that this draft would have a little bit more chaos. And it seems like pretty, like for example, this draft, we've been doing this now for 5-6 years. It seems like this draft is aligning more with consensus than a lot of other drafts.
Yeah, there's only like the biggest shock obviously has been Zion Rose to the Royals.
Yeah.
But then you look after that and kind of look at the picks. We had a feeling the booth for was Baltimore.
And you went to Baltimore.
The A's having a chance to Drew Burress, okay, that makes sense. You look at the Braves getting AJ Gracia 9. Depending on who you ask, like some people have him in the 20s. I have him at 13. I like the kid for years. And then you kind of go from there. Hacopian 11 makes sense. Bell at 10. So like, I don't want to say it's full chalk.
No, it's not full, but I'm saying it's chalkier than previous drafts.
But it's definitely a lot more streamlined. And then, like when I look at my board here, the top available player, Ryder, Helfrick.
And is there the potential that we hear his name coming up soon?
I will not confirm or deny.
I can't confirm or deny it either, but I can read faces, and it does seem like it might be Ryder Helfrick. And again, if it is Ryder Helfrick, really exciting catching prospect. But Gio Rojas is also, still on the board. There's a lot of good players still left to be drafted. And
the Marlins were acting like they won the World Series in there.
I mean, it's a great pick to get a guy who was projected to potentially go in the top 5 to get him at number 14 overall. We talked about, all the tools there, really, really strong outside of the hit tool. And if they think he get it to fringy, you're getting a really good player in the middle of the first round. But as we continue to move down the draft, again, the best way to support this YouTube live stream, best way to support the stream in general, make sure you just smash the like button and subscribe button. And for anyone who's watching us live on X, come on over to the YouTube. Come on over to the YouTube. Why not? And if you are watching us on X, make sure to hit that follow button on our X profile. And shout out to our friends at Hampton Farms Peanuts. Code JustBaseball gets you 25% off.
You might notice how dark it got.
Yeah, as you can see in our currently in our YouTube live stream, you see it getting darker and darker. We also hear thunder going on outside, so we're also dealing with that as well. Camera's dying. There's thunder outside. We're just getting through it. But as you can see live here on the screen, Ryder Helfrick, catcher from Arkansas, goes to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, this guy at Arkansas last year, Tyler, is just a big-time power bat. And I think the concerns with him is do you think he's going to truly stick at catcher? Because I've seen some people compare him to like a Shea Langeliers, where it's average catcher defense, but you don't even care because he has the potential to hit 30 homers. But I'm curious here. You like that comp? Do you think he sticks at catcher? Your thoughts on Ryder Helfrick?
I think he can stick at catcher. And the defensive changes he made this year have really turned him into one of the better backstop defenders in this class, in my opinion. It's a really, really good arm. He's mobile. He's able to be explosive out of the crouch, which is something you look for in a guy that's going to stick behind the plate. So I think he's going to stick there, but the power is easily plus. Like the pull side emphasis on that, his ability to turn on elevated velocity really helps him. At the end of the day, we'll see what the hit tool turns out to be. He has an affinity for fastballs, but then kind of struggles to break balls a little bit. That's just the nature of the swing path. His hands go from all the way up here, and he's trying to get a slider that's all the way out here is not going to be fantastic. But at the end of the day, you're banking on the power, you're banking on the defense, and admittedly, that's what you're going to be going for with the catcher anyways. So
yeah, that
makes total sense to take him. And that's a really, really close lightning strike for us.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You can see the bolt.
Yeah, we got thunder and lightning here. But I'm excited for this pick for the Diamondbacks because, again, it's big time power, as you can see live here on the screen as we pull it up. Like, this guy leaves the yard with ease, and that's what he was doing all year for Arkansas, just putting the ball in the air, tons of launch to the swing. I know, Aram, you're watching the swing right now and kind of nodding your head. You're liking what you're saying?
Yeah, the big question is just hitting secondary. I mean, he's going to destroy fastballs. He's going to hit velocity well. It's going to be – can he stay through spin? I think he swings over a lot of depthy stuff, change-ups away. Like, he could end up kind of being a reverse splits guy because of that, which isn't a bad thing by any means. If you're
guy hits righties, not too bad.
If you're a catcher who, is able to stick at the position, provide plus power, and, if the hit tool's iffy, I still think he's going to be able to be valuable enough. So I think the power's for real there. I think he's going to get into it. And if you hammer fastballs and hangers, like, you're going to carve out a nice career for yourself there, especially if you're giving some value behind the dish. And I think that's the biggest question is just how much value are you getting behind the dish? But I think in this class, like, clearly the second best catcher, I think by a good bit.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I mean, you're getting a guy that's going to be able to run into enough power, play some good defense. And it is just going to be a question of, like, where does the hit tool land? And there's some risk there, but that risk is way more tolerable with the catcher. How many catchers can really hit anyways? If you got the power.
I like that sense. That should be one of our quote cards. How many catchers could really hit anyways?
It's like, it's true. And so it's like, if you got the power and the ability to hit fastballs and hangers, you'll be good enough, if you're presumably sticking at the position, which it seems like he will, and he'll be above average there.
And Tyler, I know you're a big fan of Daniel Jackson as well, out of Georgia, who you said might have to move off the position. And I know that you had Ryder Helfrick on your board as the second best catcher available. So do you think that this was a result of the Diamondbacks wanting a catcher, or do you think Helfrick was just the best player on their board and they took the best player available?
It probably is. Who was left on their board, because I know they kind of like going after these smaller outfielders. Like, you look at Trevor Condon, and that was who we walked to him, and it fits what they look for. They look pretty smaller guys that can hit. Casey Cunningham is like a perfect example of that. Slade Caldwell. So to see this is a little bit different, but obviously Condon's off the board at that point. I think Helfrick is easily the best guy available still. So now the next guy available for me, Sawyer Strasburg, which that's probably not. It's going to be a steal in my book for whoever takes him, but I think I've also probably overvalued his center field defense a little bit, which is a fine critique of myself, I feel like.
Yeah, and you think that's maybe the reason he's dropping is because people like the bat, you like the bat, but you probably are more bullish on him sticking in center, while other teams might not agree.
That and also the hit tool is a little shoddy. The swing decisions aren't great. He's very aggressive, and admittedly, they're not the best bat-to-ball skills. But I'm banking on the athleticism. I'm banking on the power, and I'm banking on the defender. It's just a matter of does he hit, and I don't know.
And at number 17, who's on the clock? Who are we currently looking at? We're looking at
the Rangers are on the clock, and it is going to be Gio Rojas.
Gio Rojas. And I know, Arm, you're excited about him because I remember when I asked you and I said it was kind of wide open. Who's the starting pitcher number 2 in this? And you were very quick.
Yeah.
Well, you're like, well, besides Gio Rojas.
Yeah,
like Gio
yeah.
Rojas is number 2. And I assume the same for you, Tyler. And to get him at pick 17 in the draft, the Rangers have to be pretty excited, and their fans especially.
And the way that they develop arms, dude, like you're getting this guy with Chris Young's infrastructure there. You got to be thrilled. Like,
yeah,
I'm really excited to see how he develops there. I mean, the Rangers have done such a good job with their arms throughout that system, and to have Gio land right in their lap there, I think is as exciting as it could get. I mean, you can break it down, but I mean, in terms of upside, second highest upside arm in the draft,
easy.
And you're putting that guy in this system where, again, I love the Rangers' ability to develop arms, and I think you can't really argue against it. And you get a lefty with this kind of upside in that system. They've got a lot of righties. I love the fit.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with Rojas for me is the fact that it's such a tough at bat, especially if you're a left-handed hitter, because the ball is essentially a slingshot coming out of a slot like right here. It's very, very tough to pick up.
Ooh, that ball is jumping.
Yes, it gets on guys very, very quickly. And the biggest thing is he's been up to 98. It's not like outstanding fastball shape. He gets a lot of run because of his release and everything, but he's able to locate it well. He has fuel for a pretty solid low 80s sweeper. And then you also throw in the ability to throw a changeup in the mid 80s that he can land pretty well against right-handed hitters. So he's very, very upside laden. The biggest issue has been kind of coming around. He kind of rushes himself slightly, and that kind of leads to him flying open a little early and with this arm side. But he is, without a doubt, the second highest pitcher on my board. And the upside is just too good to pass up.
I love it, and I think this is such a good pick. Before we keep moving on to the rest of the picks, another reminder brought to you by Hampton Farms Peanuts using promo code JUSTBASEBALL to get 25% off the best peanuts money can buy. I'm telling you, folks, if you haven't gotten your honey roasted peanuts yet, what are you doing? You also get 25% off using promo code JUSTBASEBALL. Aram, what do you think?
I've not broken into all the flavors yet. I'm pretty excited about it though. I've broken. I'm more of an original guy. I go regular, but they sent me 3 huge boxes. I got dill pickle to tap into. There's like a Cajun one as well. So I'm looking forward to tapping into that. But
wow, that was close.
It's crazy.
I don't know if you guys can hear that, folks, coming over the audio waves. The lightning it feels like it's in the backyard currently right now. So what do we think?
Do we really have a yard though?
What?
Is there really a yard here though?
Yeah, kind of. So should we keep going through this draft? Let's keep going through the draft.
This is where I think, and I don't know if you know yet, but like this is where I loved your Justin LeBron shout, and I feel like it just fits.
I will say I don't know yet.
Can I really quickly say, so last night, right, I think we got in, we floated into Philly at around 7:30 p.m., and that's when we got here. And we immediately started talking drafts. We didn't stop talking until 1 a.m. We were doing so much. And I said, Justin LeBron is that type of guy where someone like, for example, Zion Rosenstein, I was thinking that could be a Justin LeBron pick, where someone says, this guy is just too many tools. We have to take him, even though I know he struggled towards the end of the season with Alabama. Or I could see him completely falling. And then you were like, yes, but no, because isn't he a Houston Astro? And I literally looked at Arm and I was like, I take back everything I said. He is such a Houston Astro.
The Astros care not for risk.
Yes, they're willing to take it. They're willing to take it.
And it's worked in their favor to a degree, I think. And I mean, Xavier Nyans in the early going here has looked really solid. But you mentioned like Bryce Matthews, like he's been a big league piece for them. And there was some major hit tool concern there. I mean, they are comfortable taking that chance. And I think here, like, it would make a lot of sense with the upside. I think LeBron's the most polarizing player in the draft, but polarizing, there's a high end and a low end. At this stage, like if you don't love the tier 2 college bats, this is the swing for the fences there that you could take.
But would you still go Sawyer Strosnider over, because he's the highest remaining player left on your board, would you still go him if you're the Astros? Or do you take a swing on LeBron?
I think you take a swing on LeBron.
Also, it's pretty cool that on a MLB Draft live stream, you say,
Right.
take a swing on LeBron
This
from
automatically
St. Vincent, St. Mary.
this adds another 5,000 views.
Yeah. All right.
We're mentioning LeBron. It's like, oh, hey, by the way, he's signing with the Rockies.
Yeah, he's actually.
However, it will not be LeBron.
It will not be LeBron, Justin LeBron at this pick, and definitely not LeBron James at this pick. With the 17th pick of the MLB Draft, the Houston Astros select Logan Hughes, outfielder from Texas Tech. I got to be honest with you, I didn't see a ton of him. I think I watched a couple of games, and he definitely jumped out as a good player, but I don't know a ton about Logan Hughes. Break it down for us.
The best way I can describe him is we kind of go back to AJ Gracia and Chris Hacopian, where the bat is just it's so polished and so good. Well, both on the hit tool and power standpoint, left-handed bat, he's going to match at the next level. His ability to drive the ball on both sides of the field is impressive. He has a max EV, I think, of like 113 or 114. He started at Stetson, actually. His freshman year at Stetson, went to Texas Tech last year, had a breakout. And, you know, it's likely a first base or left field prototype. He's really, really bulky. He's like 5'11", I would say 210. It's definitely not the greatest body, but he just continuously matched at Texas Tech. And that's the theme of the day so far is you're going after these guys who have a lot of upside with the bat, but you have question marks surrounding everything else. And this kind of just fits what they're immediately looking for a little bit as well. It's not obviously not a risky pick. I would say this is like one of the safer options if I'm Houston, but he's going to hit, and he's going to hit for average and power, and that's where I'm at with Logan Hughes.
Aram, after watching the swing from Hughes, any thoughts on kind of the mechanics?
I like the swing a lot. I mean, he's got crazy bat speed, dude. You can really see it. And, I mean, the ability to air pull, but it's because of the bat speed, he can go backside pretty easily, generate carry and a ton of backspin. And then you just see the ability to cover velocity. I think the big question is just going to be like overall, just what other complementary tools you get. Tyler, with the hit tool, from your perspective, like seems pretty sound.
Yes.
And when you start to compare the data to the other bats that were kind of presumably ranked ahead of him, it's pretty similar. And when you watch, he's as quick and I think refined swing mechanics wise is just about any of these guys. So if you don't love some of the other the guys that are ranked higher, I totally get this pick. And I think he's right there with the Snyders and with the Reeses and with some of the other guys that are in this range. And when you look at the production, I think it kind of backs it up. And when you look at the data, it kind of backs it up. I like the pick. I do.
Tyler, is this just a bet on a bat? Because it doesn't seem like, at least defensively, like he's providing that much value.
Yeah, you're betting on the bat here. It's what drives your profile. He had a 82% contact rate this year, 87% in the zone, which is not necessarily the greatest mark, admittedly, but he's been doing this for 3 years. He did it at both stops, and it just, for me, you're looking at a guy who is potentially, above average power guy. I would say above average hitter as well. Yeah. So you pair that together, it's first round bat, and if he's a left fielder, he's a left fielder. You got to match in that position too. So I think he just fits perfectly as that.
Where was he personally on your big board?
He was in the 20s.
In the 20s. So this pick around this range makes sense.
Yeah. So he was 23 going to 17, +6. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. Like that works perfectly. It was in that range anyways.
Yeah, that makes sense. And moving on closer, I think it's a good reminder to make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. You could bring that back up for me real quick. What do you think next pick? What are we thinking here?
This is where I think it gets pretty fun because Justin LeBron is the most curious. Like, I'm so curious of where this guy goes. And now that he didn't go 17, I think we could kind of see a runoff here. I still think Bo Lawrence needs to go. Like I really kind of felt like Bo Lawrence was going to be one of the guys that gets drafted earlier than all of the rankings. I still think that's going to happen. But now I'm wondering, where he could land. Also, Kate Townsend is someone I still think could go. Daniel Jackson, as with the case that Tyler made, I think is another player that could easily go pretty soon. Now it's kind of wide open. And I do think, is this where we start to see the runoff of arms, Tyler?
Potentially. I wouldn't be shocked.
And who do you think could be that arm taken, and why?
Hunter Deets has had a lot of helium, and like the back end of the teams facing Edwards makes sense too. I do kind of feel like if it's an arm to Cincy, it's Mason Edwards.
You think it's going to be Mason Edwards?
That's my assumption.
Is that who you would also pick, or is that what just you think they're going to do?
I think that's what I think they're going to do.
Yeah.
If I was taking an arm here, personally, Carson Bowman, I would go with that kind of guy, but depends on how the Reds kind of look at it.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, but
pick, there
at
he
the
is.
18th pick, we're not seeing any pitchers yet. We are seeing Justin
There
LeBron.
is.
And honestly, I was wrong because he didn't fall to the way end of the first round. He didn't get picked at the top 5. He lands here with the Cincinnati Reds at 18, and he's a guy who we've talked about at length, with a guy who does have all the potential in the world, but watching him at Alabama this year, it just felt like it was a steep drop-off from the production that we expected. I remember going into the season and even early on in the season being like, I mean, this guy's like a mini Trey Turner. Not mini in the sense of like he's small, he's just, but in terms of, he could potentially be the next Trey Turner when you're looking at, just how dynamic of a player he is with the bat speed, his ability to hit for power, but also displaying a ton of speed, but just took a step back. But what the Reds are betting on is get him in our organization, let us coach him up a little bit, let me unlock the pure talent that Justin LeBron has. And I'm sure that's what they're betting on at 18.
Yeah, and the biggest thing when you kind of look at the data too, obviously the swing and miss on breaking ball stands out. The ground ball rate stands out too. But when he's able to put a drive into the baseball, it's impressive. He is, I would say, above average raw power. His ability to delete fastballs on the top rail stands out to me. At least it doesn't offset the swing and miss on the secondaries, but it at least helps him a little bit. And in terms of like defensive adjustments that he can make, he was playing a lot on his back foot this year. I don't want to say he was confident in himself, but at the same token, like he wasn't rushing ball. He wasn't necessarily showing these highlight replays that he was the first 2 years at Alabama. So I wonder, as we get into pro ball, like how much does the defensive development go? I think he's a legitimate shortstop, even with some of the struggles he had this year. We'll see what happens, but he is a pretty solid bat overall.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Arm, what do you think?
In watching the defensive video, I think it's funny. Every aspect of his game is polarizing. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, especially when you're getting him at this pick, where you see the tools to be this potentially plus defender. But you also see the frustration of like, why are you sitting back on that ball? Like, why is that eating you up? Some of the routines, it's like, how are you not making that play? And it's kind of similar things offensively. You see sometimes a swing, and it's like, this guy should be able to hit enough. And then you see some other swings where it's like, he wasn't even close to that breaking ball, right? He was completely on the front side. So I think the interesting part with LeBron is the Reds clearly have plenty of comfort in risk as well. They're kind of similar to this Astros cloth of late now, where you look at what they did with Steele Hall, and now you're bringing another like huge athlete shortstop here that going to see what comes of it. But I don't know if I have a ton of confidence in like the Reds hitting development infrastructure, but this is also just accumulate a ton of high upside guys, see what happens. Paul has been off to a nice start at the complex. I know it's the complex. Obviously, LeBron's going to go straight to low A, but I'm sure there'll be more station to station with him too. I'm fascinated to see, because this is a pick that can make you look genius, or it could be a pick that frustrates you. And I think it's fine to take that chance.
I don't mind doing it at 18, especially if you're probably looking at the rest of the board and saying, yeah, maybe a Stroh-Snyder might have a higher floor, or maybe another bat would, or Rojas went, so they're like, oh, we really wanted him. And it's kind of like, you know what? This guy has by far, and I would kind of agree with them, the most upside of anybody left in this draft. Would you agree with that in terms of if he figures it out?
Yes.
This is the highest upside. So at 18, I totally get going with him with this pick.
Yeah, you're betting on the athlete, you're betting on the upside. That, like, speaking to scouts, like some of the things that we hear, you just can't quit on that.
Yeah.
That's like
he's an athlete.
It is the cut and dry model I hear every single year.
Yeah. And he's a fluid athlete too. Like he moves so gracefully. That's why I think, I even thought I saw a little bit of Trey Turner, because I think what makes Trey Turner so special is obviously, well, not this year, but generally speaking, what he would do on the baseball field is that he could hit for power. But I think the most popular videos that ever come from Trey Turner is the slides, the tags. It's like he just moves well. Like LeBron has that, where he moves and it immediately jumps off the page. It's just production, but at the end of the day, baseball is a really tough sport and guys could run into it. But now we move over to pick number 19, and the Guardians select Liam Peterson. And I know for, people who highly model like stuffed models, love them some Liam Peterson. So it's not surprising to me to see him going off as the third pitcher off the board after Rojas and after Jackson Flora. Tyler, was he your third pitcher off the board?
So mine would have been I have Fluky, I have Townsend over Peterson. The reason why I have him at is the command has just not necessarily turned that corner the past couple of years. I remember him as a prep. He was a guy that had a lot of really good stuff and a lot of good traits he can go after, but he couldn't find the strike zone, and it really hampered him.
Yeah,
I would say Hunter Dietz was the same way. They actually both came from the same rotation. That rotation produced now a first rounder. Hunter Dietz might be a first rounder now too, and then Landon Morales, who picked the Blue Jays a couple years ago, and it never really worked out.
He looked pretty good though. I think that's injuries more than anything.
But looking at what he is now, like very much the best stuff of anybody in this draft. I feel like, at least from a right-handed pitcher, at least. And touches 100, cut right fastball.
Yeah.
The secondary stuff is really good, but he's just inconsistent with the command.
That's why it was frustrating watching, just from a college baseball fan perspective, where I was like, Liam Peterson was almost one of the most frustrating pitchers to watch because the stuff was as good as anybody in the country. I mean, whenever he was on, hitters just didn't have a chance, which again is so frustrating when you're seeing a guy ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, ball 4, and then he'll come back into the zone with a really good pitch, and I'm like, do that. Like you're almost yelling at your screen to do that. And I switch it over to you, Aram. The Cleveland Guardians are going to get him to do that. Like, where do they rank in your circle of trust? You talked about the Mariners. You talked about the Brewers. I know you've mentioned the Cubs in the past. Like the Guardians have to be high up there. So for a guy who's been a little bit inconsistent with loud stuff, finding a role with the Guardians, I mean, is this not a match made in heaven?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I think that's where it's a perfect fit in terms of being able to kind of just keep developing as an arm. They've done such a good job, guys. And
look at Parker Messick this year. Look at the developments that Joey Cantillo has made.
Cantillo is a great one as well because he had like some of the command challenges, and now he's maxed.
Gavin Williams
is a great one. I think when they lock in on an arm, they usually do a pretty good job, and even like their middle round guys that they'll pick up sometimes to end up being better than you expect. So I think this is a perfect landing spot for Peterson, and I think if the Guardians are making the pick, then you can feel a little bit more bullish on him. And I don't always subscribe to that kind of thought process with the draft, but in this case, I think you can.
Yeah, we're 20 picks in. This is the first time we brought it up, right? Sometimes it just makes sense match-wise. And Liam Peterson.
Same with Rojas and the Rangers. Like,
true.
These are the two teams, when they take an arm and it feels like it kind of –
we're paying attention.
I think they've got a plan for that guy, and I think they're going to make it work. So I'm excited to see. And it's really hard to argue against the Guardians and their arms for the last –
ever since they were
beginning of time.
Yeah, seriously, since they became an organization. So still left on your board, Tyler, Sawyer Stroh-Snyder, ranked at number 10, still has not been picked. Are there any other names that people should be on the lookout for?
So guys that have not been drafted yet, Ace Reese, 18th on my big board, is stereotypical left-handed hitter. It's like Logan Hughes, maybe slightly worse, but he was in the SEC, did well. Probably a first baseman type, but depending on who you ask, it really depends on how much you envision him playing third base and being a decent athlete at least. And then looking after that, Bo Laurence is still available, Carson Bowman, Ian Fluky, Kate Townsend, Daniel Jackson, Cole Carlone.
And that's a great thing. Like, we're going to go to the end of the first round to picks number 30, but there's going to be more good players named after – we press the end of the record button. But of course, now that we're at pick 20, another reminder, guys, remember to use code JUSTBASEBALL on hamptonfarms.com in order to get 25% off peanuts, whether that be in shell, out of shell. Might I recommend the honey roasted peanuts? Probably my favorite snack. I feel like I've talked about honey roasted peanuts.
You've never recommended those.
Well, because I kind of wish they were right here, and I just had a little bit of a handful because they are truly some of the best peanuts I have ever had in my life. But the pick is in at pick number 20. Pick number 20 or 21?
20. We're going to go a little off the rails here on this one.
Yeah, I can't. Where is he on your big board?
Pick
time?
number 20, and the name is Jake Schaefer. Number 65, or Shaffner, excuse me. Jake Shaffner. On your big board at 65. UNC shortstop. Good player. I got to be honest. I'm shocked the Red Sox took him here.
So I will admit to it, at least this. I probably undervalued him on my board and probably should have moved him up a lot closer to the first round, especially within the last week. Had him enough down the stretch of the season in regional play, super regional. Guy's going to hit. He has a fantastic approach. He is not a guy that's going to be missing much of anything inside the zone. He is not going to chase often. So the hit tool is there. And again, we talked before we looked at the trend of this draft. The hit tool is kind of just the king right now. And
makes sense. Guy's got to hit.
Yep. And the biggest thing is obviously power is not going to be a thing with him. It's 30 grade power, maybe 40 if you think you can really get more loft in the swing.
Yeah.
But he's a fantastic defender at shortstop. I do wonder if he has the arm strength for it. That's just me though. But my assumption is by, obviously taking Shaffner for Boston, the scout would be Spencer Brown, who he has to talk to for a long time. He's a fantastic guy. He deserves a shout out for this. And getting a guy like this is fantastic. So I'm happy for Spencer on that one if he's the guy that's going to be the signing scout on this. But Shaffner, I think, is a lot better than I perceived him on the board, and I will own up to that right now.
What do you think about him?
The bat to ball is pretty nuts. 95% zone contact, 88% overall contact rate is. And so you said the glove is kind of a calling card there too.
Yeah, the glove is good enough. I think the arm's a little bit too light for shortstop personally, but he would be a good second baseman. But that is going to differ depending on who you talk to.
This is where it's interesting. How much
they must
money
think he can stick it short.
One, they must think he can stick it short, or two, they just love the bat that much. Remember, the Red Sox too. They are kind of the pinnacle of bat speed program. Add some impact.
Yeah.
They love that.
That is something that Jake needs,
and they've done a really good job with that. And of course, that's not going to turn him into a plus power guy. But if that is able to get him closer to that average pop with the fantastic bat to ball that he has, and even if it's second base, if it's plus second base. It's a path to 3+ WAR, right? It works out. So,
and you're getting him at number 20 in the draft too. It's not like they took him
with savings.
Yeah.
How much do you think they save on this?
Depends on how they view him. I would say
slots 4.22.
Wouldn't be shocked if he gets 4 on the dot.
That's a strong signing bonus.
They must like him.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's interesting. And there's always guys with late helium or whatever it may be. Also, speaking of good drafters, the Padres deserve a little bit of love too.
Yeah.
AJ Preller, that guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
When it comes to scouting, and that's why he's willing to trade them all away.
Yeah.
This is where he replenishes, right? So, but I think it's an interesting pick. I'm excited to see what the Red Sox do from there too. But it's one where I can kind of get the floor, and if they think they can add just a little bit of thump there. Then maybe it makes some sense. But 88.5 mile per hour average exit velocity, it's not that far off from a Gracia and some of the others. Obviously, Gracia you can dream on a little bit more quickly. But when he gets it in the air, though, EVs were much higher. So I think there's a little bit more in there to be unlocked. And if the glove is, again, what Tyler says it is, I think that definitely helps his case. Maybe can improve the arm strength a little bit. And you've got a shortstop that can put ball in play and just be a high floor guy.
So it kind of when the move came across, all of us were very surprised, but now talking it out,
it makes sense.
You too, Arm? It makes sense. You're sense. Oh no, this isn't a bad pick at all. And for example, Craig Breslow has been a lot of hit pieces out on him, but I'm curious to see how this draft unfolds because again, the Red Sox still have a good farm system, and clearly they've been good at developing bats.
Shaffner versus fastballs this year, Tyler, 97% in zone contact. Right?
Wow. He
doesn't miss the fastball. He's amazing at what he's
doing. So you can train shapes a little bit more. And it's not like he's bad against breaking balls. He was 95% in zone and 85% overall. But, if he's able to hit, it would be the change-ups and splits. If you can handle that. It's gonna be a plus hit tool.
Yeah, and that's why I'm fine with staying right here right now. I undervalued him on the board, and I'm gonna own it. I should not have had him at 65. shocking development. The Padres take a prep hitter in the first round.
He's probably really good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the
It's
San Diego
not a
Padres,
hitter, but a pitcher. But like
San Diego Padres select Coleman Borthwick, a prep
Huge
pitcher,
kid.
huge
Huge.
kid. Yeah, talk to me.
oh man, 6'6", 260.
They love monsters.
Just a hawk.
Yeah.
like Kale Fountain. They like these.
Caleb Fountain was huge.
James Wood, obviously.
Schoolcraft was huge. Borthwick, in my opinion, is an arm, and he's the guy that can be a two-way. He has legit power as a first base type. He actually moves a lot better than he usually does. Like for his size, he's pretty athletic. He pitched the USA 18U team to a gold medal last year against Japan. And the biggest thing with him is the fastball slider combo is insane. He found something in the bullpen, was able to find more of the slider. I think it's a legitimate plus pitch. Then up to 99. The 100, I think, was a confirmed rumor this year. And there's feel for a change. So you're looking at a guy who can be a power pitcher. Also kind of look at it as like a power bat if you really want to dive into, turning him to like a Bryce Eldridge. I don't think there's a bad way to go about this pick. This is a good one for the Padres. And it's on brand too. Like this is very Padres. Like I really do wonder if AJ Preller is on the list somewhere.
And we trust AJ Preller over here when it comes to
but that's the thing. AJ Preller is so good at finding talent and knowing how to utilize it to get his team better at the big league level. Like I can't really say anything bad about him.
Yeah. What do you think, Arm?
I mean, it's fun. You get a dude, like Tyler said, built like an NFL tight end, and just see what you can get there. Are they going to let him swing it, you think, a little bit?
Maybe. We'll see what happens.
Oh, so he's a two-way guy. Yeah, I see on your big board again. Plays a little bit of first base too. I feel like this guy is just the definition of power. Whether he's on the mound, he's just throwing fuel, or if he's at the plate, he's just hitting tanks. This is a 6'6", 255-pound guy in every way.
And
Like,
there's obvious risk to it. Like there's a lot that needs to go right. Obviously, with a big, hard thrower like this and the prep guy, but at the same time, like you can really dream on a lot. And I think for the Padres, with the way that they just consistently deplete, they're going to swing for the fences. They also know that they're going to find value in the later rounds. That's where the Padres cook. Like 7th, 8th, 9th round, 4th, whatever it may be. They find that undervalued, just solid bat that'll turn into a pretty good prospect. So swing for the fences at your top pick, and like this is a home run type of swing to try to take here.
What are your guys' favorite picks of the draft so far? Because we're picks 21 of the 30 that we're going to do on this live stream. Favorite pick so far, and why is it Vahn Lackey to the Twins? You know my answer.
I think the sad part is I probably was going to go with Lackey to the Twins. I like if we're going to go off of anything, I think
outside of the top 3.
Condon to the Cardinals is pretty fun. I like Condon as an athlete and as a player. Looking at it, I think Tyler Bell to the Rockies is kind of a really good fit.
Cool.
Like sneaky good fit. The more I think about it, the more I just love EJ Booth to the Orioles as well. I think that's just a fantastic fit.
If I wasn't going to say Lackey to the Twins, I think it's Gio Rojas to the Rangers.
Gio Rojas to the Rangers, Burress to the Athletics.
Yeah, Burress to the A's. But
Rojas to the Rangers, when you're getting an arm of that much upside at that point in the draft, in the middle of the first round, a lefty, the top prep arm in the class by a mile,
and Liam Peterson to the Guardians. That match is just so beautiful.
Really nice.
Yeah,
I think for the Marlins too. I mean, like to get a South Florida high upside bat at 14, I don't know if they thought they'd get a player of that ceiling. Where they were able to get him in Jacob Lombard. So there's a few there, but I can't escape Burress to the A's. I just think that's gonna be such a nice fit. He's gonna move through that system quick.
Hopefully he gets there when they're still at the Sut. So
I think he will.
A couple of dingers.
I really think he will.
And we move.
For Westbrook, I gotta go pee real quick. So.
All right, get out of here. We move on to pick number 22 to the Detroit Tigers, and Tyler sneaking by. It did not work at all. We got the Detroit Tigers picking at number 22, and again, we still have some guys left on his big board. We still have Ace Reese. We still have Sawyer Stroh-Snyder. Who else? I'm just looking over. We still have Cam Flukie.
Flukie's fun
again, and I feel like with Flukie, some people might think he's just a 2-pitch guy. I think he's got some glass now to him, where it's just like this huge arm with long limbs coming at you with just a hard fastball and a really good curveball. Again, similar to Glass now we've seen how he's turned out. So If I was drafting, I would take a good hard look at Fluky. And I know you're a big fan of Cade Townsend. Like, I think the Tigers could do really well here. Like, there's a lot of players still left on the board that are certainly intriguing.
Well, and this is where I do kind of like Bo Lawrence too, because
True, another one.
Scott Harris loves his prepsters, and like here's my guy Bo. I think when you've got a hit tool like left-handed hitting, he also loves his left-handed hitting prepsters.
Well, there you go.
This is a Scott Harris pick.
Should we write it in? Has it already happened?
I don't know if it has, but if it hasn't yet, like this is a great fit for me. I just think because it makes so much sense. When you look at just how good the bat to ball is, you look at how advanced he is, there's power projection there as well. Like, to me, it's a Scott Harris 101 pick that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and
they go Fluky.
They go Fluky. Tigers. You and I, we're reading minds over here. Cam Fluky, again, watching him at Coastal Carolina, I always thought that this guy could potentially be the second best pitcher in this draft outside of Jackson Flora. But, he dealt with injury. He was a little bit inconsistent when he came back, just like most pitchers are. But I'm telling you, it's a fastball that jumps on guys. And you're seeing the highlights right now. I mean, he's blowing fastballs by people. And then you see the wretched curveball, and it's a pitcher's body too.
Oh, yeah.
And he controls it well. Like, I think the Tigers are going to be really happy with this pick. And especially with him going right now here, Arm, because it makes me think about what you were just saying about how much they love these prep high school bats. And there's Bo Lawrence on the table. They even have a Sawyer Stroh-Snyder, right? That left-handed, but in college. But they decide to go with Fluky. My guess is Fluky was probably very high on their board, and they are jumping for joy the fact that they got him.
Yeah, because again, Scott Harris's MO is usually prep bat. And
I wouldn't be surprised if they had him as the number 2 pitcher on the board.
And it's just an interesting zag from what he's typically done. And
I
think they must really, really like what Fluky can bring to the table here. And maybe they're saving a few bucks here on the pick. It wouldn't surprise me either. But I like this for the Tigers because how many left-handed hitting preps, as much as I love the
one, true. Well,
how many do you need?
Yeah.
And I think for when you look at the system and the upside arm-wise, this is a good fit. And a guy that I think I'm interested to see what the Tigers can do with an arm that they drafted because with this regime we haven't really seen that too much yet. Jacobs has been pretty good. We haven't seen them take a first round guy, right? And I'm excited to see what that looks like. But in terms of arms available, I like Townsend a lot, but Tyler, I mean, Fluky's probably highest ceiling of the arms board.
I would say definitely highest floor as well. Like when you're looking at obviously the footage we just put out there. When I saw him at the first week of the season, I was really impressed by the fact that he was adjusting quickly. Like last year, he didn't do that. He was really over-relying on the fastball. Kind of got hit up as a result of that. He has a good fastball. It gets good carry, good shape to it. The biggest thing was his command and the ability to spot 94, 95, and even higher than that was impressive. And that's what allowed it to play as well. The curveball, I think it's plus.
I think it's I don't want to say double plus, but I want to say it.
Hey, you can
one
say
of those.
it.
I think it's disgusting.
The fact that he's able to land it for strikes so well, but then also still get a respectable amount of lifts out of it is pretty impressive. It's got good depth to it. It's good shape. I would say work on the secondaries besides that a bit more, kind of work on incorporating the changeup more, get more out of the slider.
Well, before Scuba leaves, they need to have a quick combo at least to huddle
up. It's hey,
this
is how you throw a good changeup.
Yeah, this is how you turn it over, and then Fluky's all right, this, and then now all of a sudden Fluky's insane.
But the biggest thing with Fluky is obviously the consistency, the command, and the polish. He's able to really replicate his release height pretty well.
Yeah.
And get to a good release point, strikes. That's the biggest thing you're looking at with Fluky, which is, in my opinion, fantastic.
Yeah.
I would go for the guy with pitchability, and he's kind of still learning that as well. I would say
he does seem kind of raw. I'm sure that's why the Tigers also want to kind of bring him in too, because he's nowhere close to a finished product.
No.
But he has all the tools to be a frontline starter, and I'm sure that's what Scott Harris is saying. In their war room, or they're thinking we have to grab a guy who could be at the top of the rotation. There is some risk, no doubt, because it seems like right now there's really only 2 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
But with his talent, they probably think, can we get him a third? Can we get him a fourth? Can we refine the mechanics a little bit and then watch him explode? I'm sure that's the game plan.
I'm sure they're excited about that too. I mean, again, if this was if he had a full healthy season and he threw the way that he's capable of throwing, I think there's a real chance the Tigers don't have the opportunity to pick Cam Fluke. And again, it wasn't like it was a shoulder issue or an elbow issue; it was like a rib cage issue. So that could lead to other things, but ultimately, I think if you feel good about the medicals and that side of things, like this is kind of a nice value.
Yeah, and we talked about Justin LeBron, right? It's what was he? He got drafted at number 18 overall. It's like you're betting on upside. With Flukie again at 22, you're also betting on upside. And the pick just came in. The Chicago Cubs are taking Cade Townsend Aram.
It's like
this
the
is
fourth straight.
this is the fourth straight year. This happens every draft. Aram, I think you're going to get hired by the Cubs. I think that's what's going to happen because they're always aligned with them.
The Cubs take usually the guy I'm higher on or the guy I like every single year.
Cam Smith, Matt Shaw, keep them going.
Well, I loved Conrad, and then you go into here, we got Cade Townsend. I like the pick a lot. I think for what he's able to do with the secondaries, and again, I think the fastball should perform better. I think with some small tweaks and it's a little bit more execution dependent. I think he could be better with that. But the feel for multiple breaking balls, the change up. I feel like this is such a well-rounded arsenal already. Tyler, did you see him slipping much further than this? And also, if there's one nitpick, would it just be the fastball with Townsend?
I would say so. And I had him to the Braves at 26 because he's been they do like him. I will say that much. I don't want to say this tonight, but this kind of fits the Cubs MO of going for these spin masters. Look at
spin master. I like
Cade
that.
Horton he can spin the living hell.
He's a spin master.
Yeah. And Townsend's kind of the same way. He has the fastball, but it does get hit up a little bit. Me and Aaron were talking about it last night where it's good shape, but he kind of just leaves it up. Yeah. It's not dominant, but he has the cutter to offset that. Has a really good up-down curveball. Has another slider, I think, in the back pocket, and he throws a splitter. In the curveball, I think is the best pitch. You're looking at it at 80.
Slider though is disgusting too.
Yeah.
I think both of them are phenomenal.
And they play off the vertical axis pretty well. It's a pretty solid arm in total, and he's fixed mechanics. He's gotten better. He's throwing more strikes out of it because 2 years ago as a prep, when I was watching him, or 3 years ago rather, it was kind of still a crude operation, still trying to grow into his body. And now he's kind of done that. And I think it also tells you Ole Miss is really good at developing arms.
Oh, yeah, they are. Because they still have Taylor Rabb, who's also available still, too. And I think he's a first-round arm as well.
Yep.
And I think when you look at there's going to need to be a little bit of refinement and consistency landing the curveball. But any depthy curveball like that's going to be hard to land. It's a good chase pitch, though. And then you look at the feel for the changeup and how that developed this year. And then the fastball cutter combination off the top. 70% strike rate between those two pitches.
Really good.
That sets the tone, speeds guys up. And then the slider was really impressive in the video that I watched. Again, having the changeup developed and the curveball as a chase pitch. You've got to be ready for 5 different offerings from this guy. And what's the best way to mask a fastball that maybe isn't quite performing the way you think it should? Throw a bunch of other pitches.
Yeah.
But he's not a guy that I think needs to fully mask his fastball. I think he just needs to execute it. So this is only going to help. And I feel like for where we're at in the draft and the arms in this class, I feel like this is a guy that could absolutely make a leap, in terms of prospect pedigree and throw the ball really, really well right out of the gate in pro ball, because again, he doesn't really need to refine his arsenal. He just needs to improve his execution. And it's not like that. It's that far off. I think he's in a really good spot.
And I'm thinking about, too, that question that I asked a little bit earlier on in the stream, maybe a couple picks ago, what's your favorite pick? I think we just landed on
That's another really good one.
Yeah, Cade Townsend at 23 to the Cubs.
But I think I've given the Cubs an A on every draft again since Matt Shaw. So it's
another A.
Another A.
Another A. Well, we'll keep going here because I know we have about 6 picks left. The Mariners are on the board, and I'm really interested to see who they pick here because you said, right, we've talked about the Brewers as maybe your favorite drafter.
Who's the nicest guy on the board?
Your next one has just been Mariners for their ability to pick not only talent, but the person behind the talent. And I'm curious because, again, Tyler, you didn't rank based on character.
No.
On your big board. So they could go,
who's best
way down
available?
there. They could even go Stroh-Snyder if they view that Stroh-Snyder is who knows what they're going to do here. But what would be, I guess, maybe your best guess?
Ace Reese, maybe.
Ace Reese.
That might kind of fit in.
Could this be Bo? Could this finally be Bo?
I would love it if it was Bo.
And it was Ace Reese, just like Tyler just predicted. Rob Manfred is going to walk up there. He is going to draft Ace well, not he, Rob Manfred drafting the Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners are taking Ace Reese. And I got to be honest, guys. Last year's draft, it felt like Cade Anderson fell into their lap. They probably feel the same here, considering the pedigree that Ace Reese has. I remember before the college baseball season started, Tyler, Ace Reese was one of the best college hitters, period. What changed? Because again, pick 3rd, 24th, where are we at in the draft? 23rd? 24th, still a first round bat, but not one of the first college bats taken like previously thought. Like, what happened?
It was just a slight regression of the hit tool for me. And like looking what he did last year, he, again, 20 home runs in the SEC his first year after going from Houston to Starkville. And 81% contact last year, 28% chase. Like, that's respectable. Like, he hit fastballs at 14% whiff rate. That sounded really weird. But anyways, did not have a whiff rate over 30% on anything. Go to this year, 17% whiff on the fastball, 30% whiff on the slider. So he regressed just that little bit. And for a guy like him, where he might be a first baseman at the next level, just because of the fact that he's a pretty stiff mover and is not necessarily a good third baseman, unfortunately, not to like crap on the player.
No, but you just don't think he's going to stick.
But I don't think he's going to stick there.
Maybe the Mariners do. You never know.
Maybe they do. And I think they did draft him as third baseman, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a corner guy no matter what. But the hit tool regressing that slight little bit kind of just set it from like, hey, this is a top 10 pick to like, we're more comfortable taking this in like the 20 to 30 range. And that's exactly what happens here. So I think you definitely look at this and go, hey, this is like perfect, because he has really, really good. I think they just showed on the broadcast, like his pulled air percentage is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The ability to hit for power the way he can is impressive. He has an insanely good bat drop too.
Yeah, the pin drops are sick. They're like almost cargo-esque.
Yes.
But my thing is
that's got to fly up boards.
Yeah.
If you're pimping home runs correctly, that means you've hit a lot of home runs in your life, which is generally a good sign.
Chase Davis had the cargo clone, no, and it didn't work that well. Yeah.
Well, now what you're saying though, it's due. It's due.
What I like about him is the impact and obviously the pull side impact. But I think to a degree, he's so geared for it that it does kind of take him off of spin, and he kind of leaves the zone a little bit. And that's where you saw like depthy stuff in the bottom half of the zone, swinging over a lot and kind of chasing it a good bit too. When you look at the chase rates among like most of the top first round caliber bats, his is second highest, only behind Sawyer Stroh-Snyder, and it was like about 26%. And 26% might not sound crazy, but in college, like creeping up closer to 30% is a little concerning, because when you get to pro stuff, it's odds are it's going to push it to 30 or north of that.
Yeah.
And the thing with Reese is he needs his swing decisions to be good, because he's not going to be an above average bat to ball guy. Even if he could be average maybe, but it's likely going to be fringy hit and good power, and you're going to want to complement that with really good swing decisions. I think it can all come together, and I think he's in a great landing spot for it to come together.
Yeah.
But I think he is a little bit more of a project maybe than some of the other college bats. That said, he may have some more upside than some of the other college
It's a little
bats.
bit of a riskier pick. It's a position the Mariners can make, and obviously they probably love the makeup.
And they love their player development. And so, hey, this is where I'm going to bet on my player development. Grab the guy that I think has the most power upside of the players reasonably in this range left, and try your luck there. But I do think this is a high upside power bat from the left side. It's just, I think there's going to need to be a little bit of refinement offensively.
And the pick is in for the Milwaukee Brewers, another team that I just cannot wait to see who they take. Yeah. Tyler, is there any noise on who might be the selection for those Milwaukee Brewers, arguably the best draft team in all of baseball?
Think of Brady Evil and his brother. It's going to be Trey Evil.
No way.
Yes.
The pick is in.
I'll wait for the pick to be announced before I kind of start talking about this, because this is another one where I undervalued him a lot more than I should have.
And especially when the Brewers, it's almost like, yep, I undervalued him. And the Brewers select Trey Ebel, shortstop from Corona High School.
Yep.
And the Brewers get their guy again off the cuff a little bit, but I can see your face right now. You're kind of like, I undervalued him.
I did, yeah. And there was a lot of hype around him in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, being from the family itself, he's Dino's son. Obviously, Brady's brother. They're now back together, which is actually pretty exciting.
Both of the Brewers?
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Because Grady was 32nd overall.
Future Naylor brothers?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing with Trey is he's not like his brother. He's a right-handed hitter. He's more of a hit over power type. I think Grady, you saw a lot more power projection there. And with Evil, there's like, I want to say about the ball merchant. I don't want to say that though, because he's
why do you think the Brewer, like for example, your evaluation versus the Brewers, what do you think they're seeing that maybe you didn't?
Probably that they saw him more than I did. I don't know. That's like the only thing I could think of, because I always thought of him as like this high contact guy that's going to be a decent shortstop, but maybe not flashy. But also at the same time, he's 17-9. He's very, very young for the class. His brother was 17-10 a year ago. So that's going to help them on models. Brewers are a model team. You can kind of pair it together from there.
And I know the Brewers have told me like they love Brady. Like the way he goes about his business, how mature he was for his age. They sent him straight to low A last year for a little bit. And then this year, he has really hit his stride. Like, he's up to a 120 WRC plus at low A this year. And Brady is still just 18 years old. He doesn't turn 19 for another 2 weeks. And I mean, 26 bags on 29 tries, 6 homers already. And again, the bat to ball has been really good. The approach has been really good. And still kind of growing into the power. But I think this is where, again, you're betting on the makeup, but the skill set. And I think it's pretty cool that the Brewers like one brother so much that they said, let's go get another one. And
if it works, it works.
And that you're doing that if it's in the family because you like the family with like the 12th round pick. If it's a first round pick, they love the player too. Yeah. And so it's really fun.
And they'll probably get some savings. So Manfred's walking up to the podium, and with the 26th overall pick in 2026 MLB Draft, the Atlanta Braves select Carter Beck, outfielder from Indiana State.
Good pick. As much as I have him 56 on the board, there's a lot of guys that would love the kind of play style he has. Plays with fire. Plays with off shoulder.
I love that.
He's from Canada, I believe. He's
is there another Eric Hartman? Are they just dialing in on the Canada ranks?
I mean, it's a pretty good start apparently.
Yeah. And his journey is interesting because he goes from Saskatchewan, goes to like a D2 in North Dakota, then goes to Indiana State and back. He had a great year a year ago and then built on it this year. He's undersized. He's 5'11", 206, but at the same token, really solid runner. Bat the ball skills are there. There's some sneaky pop in that profile as well, and then also can play center field. So this is another one of like, did I undervalue him a little bit? Yeah, I did. But at the same token, like this is still, I would say, a good pick for the Braves. This kind of just fits what they look for.
Yeah. And Aram, I know, with some of these high school guys, especially from Indiana State, maybe you're not getting a ton of looks at them, but from just looking at some video, any immediate thoughts on that swing? I
mean, he's tooled up. You can tell he's a good athlete. And I mean, when you look at some of the data too from this year, and I know he's not playing the same level of competition, but 92% in zone. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned like the power might not be crazy in terms of like top end EVs, but 92.5 mile per hour average exit velocity. I mean, his quality of contact floor is high.
Yeah.
You're getting a good athlete. And also, again, I know that it's not going to be the same level of secondaries, but even like across college baseball, just the floor of quality of pitching is higher.
Yep.
The fact that he's running a contact rate against all pitch types north of 80%, right? 86% against fastballs, 84% against breaking balls, 80% against changeups and splits. Like, this is a pretty well-rounded hitter. And you mentioned like plays like his hair is on fire. That's what stands out with Hartman beyond the Canada connection.
Yeah,
that's something that stands out with him. And
when do we start singing "No Canada" here?
Yeah,
literally. Do you guys think that he could unlock a little bit of that power if he uses code JustBaseball on HamptonFarms.com and gets himself some peanuts? 7 grams of protein per serving. All I'm saying is, if he wants to unlock some power, maybe head on over to HamptonFarms.com and use promo code JustBaseball, 25% off on him.
Yeah. Best deal in town right now.
Best deal in town.
Peanuts in the stadium, but you can get your own flavors you want because they don't have as good of a selection in the stadium. The other thing I'm noticing right now, they're playing at Murray State in the conference tournament. They really redid that stadium. It was like a backyard baseball field before, and they made the run. I'm glad they reinvested in it there and actually gave the Racers a good stadium. The other thing that I like, he's got the field to air pull, but he's also slapping it the other way with authority too. I mean, this is a fun pick for the Braves, and this is a sneaky good drafting team. Whenever the Braves make a pick that's like, hey, that's a surprise, or not, the top obvious pick.
It's like maybe it's a surprise to us.
Yeah,
not to them, though.
that might be a good snack.
Yeah. So we got what? We got 4 picks left. Right now we're at pick 26, and we're moving on to pick. Where are we at? 27. The New York Mets. Dave Stearns. Is he on the hot seat? If you personally don't like this pick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Steve Cohen does follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like this pick.
Yeah, you never know what Steve Cohen's doing on Twitter. Maybe he's looking at what I'm saying. But again, I keep going back to a couple of the names that are higher on your big board, like a Sawyer Strosner, number 10 overall. Do you think the Mets could take a swing at him? You know,
there's a little bench in that swing.
Yeah, not quite AJ Ewing, but in terms of like outfielders that they want to grab, could this possibly fit a profile for who the Mets grab at this next pick?
Does it fit the profile? Yes, that's why I mocked him here earlier. But yeah, he's unfortunately I do know.
So you know the pick. You know the pick.
Will we be surprised? There we go.
It is going to be a bit of a surprise.
At pick number 27, Rob Manfred, the New York Mets, 27th pick in the 2026 MLB Draft, select Carson Wiggins. Looking at a
younger brother of Jackson.
I was going to ask if
they are related.
What are your thoughts, Carson Wiggins?
It doesn't surprise me one bit. There's helium with Wiggins coming in, and the weird thing is he's not necessarily thrown in 2 years. He had TJ last year. He was supposed to come back like late on in the season, but then Dodgers kind of just held him back and didn't let him throw. But he was supposed to throw in May, and the biggest thing with him is he's a lot like Jackson, same kind of build, same kind of fastball. He throws really hard. He hit 100 multiple times. And I think averaged like 99 on his fastball at Arkansas last year before he blew out. And there's a really, really solid slider to go with it as well. I think he's more of a reliever than his brother was, in my opinion. When I saw Carson in high school, there was an outing where he could just he was dotting wherever he wanted. And then the next outing, he was hitting back, which, you're taking 97 to the bat. It's not the greatest feeling. But you're banking on the bloodlines, you're banking on the velo, you're banking on a lot of everything kind of coming back into the fray. It again doesn't shock me that he goes this high. I still definitely, if he had more of a track record in college, I would have felt better about it on my board. But that's me, that's just how it's going to be on that one. But
I will say though that the 2-pitch combination there is really fun, where you could see, closer type of stuff potentially if it all comes together. Where the fastball at that velocity with that carry is pretty impressive, and that's the name of the game with his brother, with Jackson. It's not just the velo; it's the specs are really impressive. But unfortunately, with Jackson, like some arm issues as well, and it's not just the TJ, like residual effects after that, and that is probably a little bit of a concern here. But clearly, the Mets are feeling all right with it, and they've let medicals stop them from signing pitchers in the past. So yeah, exactly. So I look at when you're getting 100 miles an hour with this life, and then the slider's gross. It's just to your point. I'm watching him tug some balls on a glove side and just miss, but you're getting a high upside arm here.
Yeah, and I feel like I just have a quick question for you guys. I remember one of my predictions from before even the first pick was made was that a lot of these teams are going to be drafting pitchers where they might reach for their guys, and it seems like a little bit of a riskier pick for the Mets, but they clearly like him. And we get another pitcher here off the board to the San Francisco Giants, Jack Raydell, who was
it's Astros.
Oh, Astros, excuse me. The Astros select Jack Raydell, and he was a guy at Notre Dame who I thought was one of the best pitchers in the country, period.
He is highly underrated.
I agree. Like I'm actually I'm surprised he even fell this far down.
My favorite bit about him is obviously he's a South Dakota kid. So my intro to the blurb is like, hey, he's built like a Black Hill spruce tree. That's a state tree in South Dakota. But like when you're looking at a guy with a high floor, Raydell fits that mold. He gets 7 feet of extension on average. Fastball has been up to 95, 96, and he looks very, very good in Charlotte. The field of spin isn't all that great, but he knows how to shape pitches, which is fantastic for him.
Yeah.
The slider, I think, had like a 45% whip rate this year. Has feel for a softer curveball, has feel for a changeup. So you're getting a guy that can throw strikes, has a floor, and can also shape the baseball pretty well, despite the fact that his spin capacity isn't great. But from his home this year, he went 7 innings, looks very good. It's a workhorse build, obviously. He's 6'5", like 250, 260.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's not fat. He's just
he's just a big dude.
Yeah.
And I have a question actually for the both of you. When I was watching him at Notre Dame, like the first kind of thing watching him, 1 start, 2 starts, 3 starts, I think I watched like 6 or 7 starts of him this year. And the thing that came to my mind was I was like, I don't think, like, for example, we've talked about a lot of arms so far with a lot of upside. Even Wiggins, the previous pick, we talked about Fluky, where it's like, it's almost the sky's the limit with him. I feel like there's not a ton of upside in there, but the floor is so high where I see a 4 or 5 starter who just eats innings and is a solid big league pitcher. Like I almost feel like I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first pitcher to debut. Is that Tyler, you're nodding your head yes. Curious, Aram, like what do you think about that assessment where maybe not a ton of upside, but just he's a big leaguer?
I mean, the feel for the fastball, slider, and cutter already, I think, really helps his case.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that definitely makes sense. And then the fact that like he gets 7+ extension is
it gets up on you.
Is going to help him kind of push the stuff up a little bit higher. And then, if the feel for the changeup can develop, that absolutely helps his floor. And there's still like a pretty fun ceiling, right? If he can find the curveball a little bit more consistently and the changeup, like the fastball specs are good enough. You combine all those pitches. He could be a solid middle rotation arm. But I do agree, like when you have the fastball and 2 variations of the breaking ball with that consistent of a strike rate,
right,
you're gonna have a pretty solid floor. And I think this is a pretty solid grab there. I'm excited about though. The ceiling could get pushed higher.
You never know, right? Yeah, that's also right now. Like I said, I'm not a scout. That's just what it seemed like from watching him. Like again, this past year at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how much vert he maintains because if it's 17, 18 inches of vert, he was 19 and a half this year with 7 of extension. Like
that's a good.
Even
pick.
at 94, that fastball is going to play well above average, and that with the cutter and the slider as well.
I like this pick a lot.
That's going to be a fun mix.
Tyler, do you think that there's a possibility that he is the first pitcher to debut, like I said? Or do you think that's a little too bullish? You like that?
Yeah. Maybe does it happen? I don't know, but I think it's a solid shot. By the way, Giants are doing Giants things, and I really, really like this pick.
Ooh, Tyler really likes the pick, and we got it. Carson Bowman. Again, he was really high on your board. He was kind of one of those guys where we're talking about Stroh-Snyder, and you said Bowman's still available, and the Giants end up taking him at pick number 29. And we only have one more pick left before, unfortunately, we're going to end the stream. So let's talk about Bowman. Why do you like him so much? Why is he so high on your board?
The biggest thing going back to last year was kind of like with Cam Fluky, the polish, the ability to command the baseball so well, and it's 4-pitch mix. The biggest thing, he hides the ball very well. When you're looking at the video there, you don't see the ball behind the back until it's at release. And it's a traditional 3/4 slide, but he's been up to 94, 95. 2 really, really good breaking balls, I think, are plus. It really plays off the angle. The curveball is the better of the 2, but I think the slider has some decent stuff with it. And he lowered his slot for a changeup. It was there, but I think there was still like average stuff to go off of. The biggest thing this year, he started late and he didn't take the jump that we wanted him to.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else, when you start to dive into the makeup and just talking to the kid, it's impressive. He's an incredible person. Really, really, really high makeup kid, and that's obviously going to win you over in war rooms. And now he's going to get a handsome payday from the Giants, is my assumption, because them saving some money with Flora at 4 is going to let them open up and pay Bowman a little bit to keep him away from Wake Forest. But in total, like Bowman is
great pick.
Great pick.
Yeah,
I really, really like.
A little Caminiti in there in the delivery, or
a little bit.
Athletic.
I would definitely say Caminiti is a better mover between the two. But
and we got pick number 30 in, and I'm super happy to see this one. Taylor Rabe from Ole Miss, right? We were just talking about Cade Townsend.
We got him all right.
Yeah, there we go.
Like 20 picks. Let's go.
Taylor Rabe to the Kansas City Royals at pick number 30. This was a guy who, we were talking about yesterday. We were talking about some of our favorite arms. For me, it was Flora, it was Fluky, and then it was Rabe. Like, I watched this guy. He's kind of funky. He's got like this kind of weird release where it just felt like no hitter in college baseball could pick it up very well. And with his fastball, they almost didn't know which way it was going to move. Like, I thought he adds a little bit of deception, but he's also got a ton of talent, and he's got the body, a frontline starter as well. And obviously coming from Ole Miss, a college where they're really good at pitching development. Like, I'm a little bit surprised with Zion Rose. Me personally, I just don't know much about high school guys. I've seen Taylor Ray plenty. I think this is a great pick at pick number 30.
Yeah, this is fun. The fact that Tyler mocked this one too this late is really impressive. But what's funny is like the specs on the fact would imply that he'd get the chase that kind of see here at the top and some of the whiff at the top, and that clearly is the testament to kind of the built-in deception. He's a little bit offbeat, where like the body comes at you, but the arm's a little bit behind, and I think it creates some deception there, and that kind of sets up a pretty fun vertical tunnel where the breaking ball works well.
Yeah, and this is another one where like we talked about last night, where he kind of relies on that velocity to really help him miss bats at this point. But the ability to command the baseball as well as he only walked like 15 guys this year. For an arm that's
why his Sierra was so low, and that's why I kept betting on him, and he kept cashing, because I was like, this guy does not allow free passes, and he racks up the strikeouts. I'm pretty sure it was like 12 or 13 per 9. And again, just purely college baseball, I thought he was clearly one of the best arms in the country, and obviously the Royals think the same when you draft him in the first round.
And admittedly, like when you kind of look at the cutter, the slider, the curveball, he has really good field in numbers not being good.
Yeah.
Like being able to shape the pitches well is definitely a plus for him. Like he spins the fastball like 2,200, 2,300, but then the breaking balls are like 18 to 19. But it's also a testament to you don't have to spin a breaking ball terribly well, like in terms of spin rates to get shape. Yeah. And I think that's what helps.
And maybe the Royals think they can kind of unlock a little bit more too. Where they're like, he does clearly have the ability to spin. We think we can help him even more.
Yes. It's also like pronation versus supination. He's more of a pronator, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's where the fastball, where like sometimes it's running, sometimes he stays behind it a little bit more. But as like Peter mentioned before, that was something that stood out to me too. This last night was like, it almost works in his favor, because even sometimes when he's missing arm side, it's not like he's walking a ton of guys.
No.
So I think there is some shape variance there that isn't too bad. It's just you probably need to find a little bit of consistency there. But to that point, like, is there a distinct sinker? Like my pitch tagging not great on my end here, but if not, I feel like that's something that could really unlock another angle.
He could be a 3 variation fastball guy.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have multiple fastballs at the next level. I think that's going to be what they have to do and unlock more. And I think that's something that a lot of people on a public scale kind of, I don't want to say misinterpret, but like they undervalue a little bit. I think you're going to have to see a lot of arsenal changes with these guys. Like, for example, Logan Redmond, if he's selected today, that's a guy that doesn't have a ton of projection left, but if you unlock like a little bit with fastball shape and separate it.
Yeah.
Talking to a couple, I'll even name drop them. The Mets assistant scouting director, I talked to him about him quite a bit this year, and that was the feel was you can separate the fastballs, achieve a little bit more of it, but what he is now is what he is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're looking at with Ray, but I think he's got more projection to him. Speaking of projection, love that pick for the D-backs.
Yeah, the D-backs with Blake Bryant, a high school guy. So that'll be about the end of our draft stream. We did the first 30 picks, and again, want to make a special shout out to Podcast P behind the mic, helping us produce this thing. We got thunder going outside. We got our camera dying on us, but the highlights have been amazing. He's done such a great job, and of course, you see here live on the screen the Diamondbacks going with Blake Bryant,
6'6" righty,
180
pounds too. How much more room to grow is there?
So much.
Excited with
so
that.
much, and he's deceptive, super flexible, moves down the mound well. He's already been up to 95. Good break, good change up. Like it's a very solid pick. I had a feeling he was going in the top round, and this is about exactly where I thought he would go.
Yeah, absolutely. And for I see we're getting a couple of comments in the YouTube comments. Like comes to us from Baby Tree Films. Hey guys, quick question: what are your thoughts on the Mets pick at 27? If you rewind the tape, you will see all of our thoughts on every single pick, 1 through 30. We even did a full 45 minutes even before the draft started with some of our early thoughts. So if you're curious and you're coming in late and you're like, well, I missed my team's pick, what did they say? It's throughout this entire draft. So, and I'll even, you know what I'll do? You know what I'll do for the people? I'll even go back and I'll do timestamps for every pick for this draft stream right
What a
after.
guy.
I will put in the timestamps. You know what? Because I love you. I love all of you guys listening. Thank you all for listening. And again, the best way to support these streams, just make sure you hit us with a like, make sure to subscribe, and definitely make sure that you subscribe. And now Tegan Coons goes to the Cardinals.
Might as well give quick thoughts on that before we
Quick thoughts on Tegan Coons.
Coons, very, very solid fastball quality. It's a low launch heater. Like he gets a pretty good amount of extension, but it comes from a 5'1" release height. And he's been up to 97, 98. Creates really, really flat angles as well, and has feel for a change of 2 breaking balls, but I think his field spin needs to improve a little bit. But this is I thought he was going to be a Mariner with how they kind of look at fastball trades.
100%.
But now it's a Cardinal pick, and it kind of does fit what they look for. I think there's going to be some underslot here, but Coons is a very solid get here for Cardinals.
Very quickly, too, we're going to be, if you're in the Philly area, we're going to be at Other Half Brewing for the All-Star game. We'll be doing trivia during the game, hanging out, giveaways from our partners, some really awesome giveaways if you win trivia, first, second, third place. But we're just going to be hanging out and having a good time. Come check us out at Other Half Brewing during the All-Star game in Philly. So we'd love to see you all. But again, thank you, everybody, for taking the time to do this draft stream and hang out and watch the draft stream with us. And again, it was so much fun being able to talk ball with you guys today. Be sure to keep up with all of our content. A lot of stuff going out throughout All-Star Week, and we'll be putting out a full episode tomorrow. Breaking down.
So instead of the roundup like we normally do, we're going to do a draft recap and a special also shout out again to Other Half Brewing. Again, July 14th, 7 to 11 p.m. in Philly. $5 select beers, all-star hot dog special, live MLB trivia, prizes. Hopefully everybody can join in. We did over 3 hours here. And again, it was all brought to you by Hampton Farms Peanuts. Remember to use code JUSTBASEBALL to unlock 25% off some of the best peanuts in the world. I think that'll do it for us here on the draft stream. Appreciate everybody listening, and make sure to RSVP, or if you don't RSVP, just join us at least at Other Half Brewing. And with that, thank you, everybody. See you on Sunday for a draft preview or draft recap, whatever it is. See you guys later.
See you guys.